Chapter 165. The automatic pencil slid across the notebook, writing down one English word after another. Curved lines flowed, while straight lines were brisk. Kue liked the smoothness of solving problems and the clarity of her brain. After finishing last year's exam, she picked up the red-covered reference book beside her and corrected the answers. The accuracy rate was good, and the deviation was about 72.9. She stretched and prepared to rest for a while before correcting her mistakes. She tiredly supported her chin with her right hand and stared blankly at the blue sky outside the window. She looked down and saw Hokuyuji's field. At noon, there were only a few boys from the sports club on the field. They were playing basketball during their lunch break. Kue thought about herself. Until she was promoted to the third year of high school, she had been a member of the blowing club. In order to cope with the heavy entrance exams and not repeat the failure of the middle school exams, she chose to leave the club despite her junior and good friend, Kumiko Iwami. Hokuyuji's blowing club was not worth mentioning. Although it was once glorious, it had long been reduced to a third-rate club that couldn't even qualify for the Kyoto competition. This was before the spring of this year. Kue picked up an eraser with her free left hand and unconsciously rolled it between her index and middle fingers. Outside the window, the white clouds in the sky looked like the body of a tenor saxophone. Now Hokuyuji's blowing club had won the Kyoto competition and played a miraculous sound in the Kansai competition. Although they only received a bronze medal from the national competition, they were already the talk of the school. The principal even praised them in the meeting. Next year, Hokuyuji's enrollment would be more popular because of them. She had already been in the blowing club for 2 years. If she persisted in the third year, Kue stopped rolling the eraser and laughed at herself. It was impossible. She was not the vice head of the blowing club. Asuka Tanaka, who was also a third year, who was regarded as a special existence by others. She had an outstanding appearance, excellent leadership skills, and a bass trumpet that was not at the level of a strong school. Yet, she squeezed into the top 30 in the country in the mock exam. How could there be such a perfect person in the world? Kue thought about her mock exam results. There was still a certain distance between her goal and the private university. For an ordinary person like her, it was impossible for her to attend to club activities and study hard at the same time. After letting her imagination run wild for a while, Kue stretched her arms and prepared to continue studying. At this moment, the corner of his eyes swept across the field. On the path leading from the school gate to the school dormitory, a familiar figure came into view. Kumiko? Why did he go there at noon? Even if the competition was over, other than the third years who were preparing for the entrance exam, the playing section should continue practicing. While she was thinking about these unimportant questions, the two figures beside Kumiko attracted her attention. In winter, Kita Yuji's uniform was a long-sleeved sailor suit. Wearing Western school uniforms, the two of them were like sunflowers that attracted bees. Kue, who had been to Nagoya to watch the national competition, recognized the two men. He was an unparalleled genius in the oboe and the first high school conductor in the history of the blowing competition. First and second place in the national mock exam of year 1. Her looks were impeccable. He had countless advantages. Even Asuka Tanaka, the special existence of Hokuyu Haru, appeared ordinary before the two of them. Why would they appear in Bayou City at this time? Kumiko, who was carrying a gift, looked at the surrounding students with a bitter smile. There were boys and girls, seniors and juniors. In the distance, students were peeking out from the windows of each class. Forget it. The point was, Watanabe, can you stop smiling? Kumiko complained. I can't help but smile when I see an old friend. But you, Kumiko, please tell me, why are you not happy at all when you see me from 400 kilometers away? I'm happy. But, if you go on like this, I'll be surrounded by the whole school after you leave. That's your problem, isn't it? Please solve it yourself. What did you say? Kumiko asked in disbelief. I'm just joking. Don't mind it. In Kamigawa, I only dare to smile at my girlfriend in Kiyono. But in Bayou City, I'm only here for lunch, so I can smile without caring about the consequences. Think about it, everyone is mesmerized by me, but in the blink of an eye, they won't be able to see me anymore. Don't you think that's very youthful? I just feel that you have a very, very bad personality. A person who directly says that someone has a bad personality is the one with a bad personality, right? Yes, yes, yes. Kumiko weakly brushed off Toru Watanabe and gave up trying to persuade him to stop smiling. She looked at Rin Kiyono, who was still gasping for breath, and comforted her. Kiyono-san will be in the music room soon. You can rest soon. Thank you, Rin Kiyono said with great difficulty. But how did you get this? Toru Watanabe picked up the school admission permit on his chest. Kumiko proudly puffed out her chest a little. Matsumoto Michiko-sensei is the assistant consultant of the wind instrument department, and she's also my class teacher. I told her that I'd like to invite you to the wind instrument department for an exchange, and she immediately agreed. The female teacher, who looked very strict, but after the competition, she hugged her student and cried. How did you know? Kumiko looked at Toru Watanabe in surprise. Of course I saw it. Wasn't I there? Liar. How can a human have such a good memory? Kiyono-san, cheer up. Toru Watanabe turned his head and looked at Rin Kiyono, who was in so much pain that she was about to close her eyes. Someone said that we're not human. Shut up. Rin Kiyono finally couldn't take it anymore. She stretched out her hand and gently pulled Toru Watanabe's sleeve, transferring some of the gravity to him. Toru Watanabe pulled the school uniform jacket that slid down to his shoulders and said to Kumiko, "Can we find a place to rest first?" Kumiko looked at Rin Kiyono with worry and surprise. She didn't expect someone to be so weak. She thought for a moment. The shoe cabinet seems to be okay. The three of them walked into the school building, changed into indoor shoes, and stopped at the vending machine. From time to time, girls holding hands would pass by them, and when they were far away, they would immediately whisper to each other. There were also boys who were chasing each other and deliberately talking loudly in front of Rin Kiyono. "What do you want to drink?" Kumiko asked. "I'll do it." Toru Watanabe took out the 10-yen coins that he had accumulated during this time and inserted them one by one into the coin slot. Kumiko knew that this guy was very rich. She only had 3,000 yen a month, so she chose to accept. Toru Watanabe first ordered strawberry milk for himself, then asked for hot tea for Rin Kiyono. He said to Kumiko, "I don't know what you like to drink, so you can order it yourself." "How could I?" Kumiko's hand was already on the most expensive drink button. "I've always wanted to try it. Even so, I still have some left. Give Reina and me another bottle." Toru Watanabe unscrewed the cap of the hot tea and handed it to Rin Kiyono, who was resting with her eyes closed. Rin Kiyono opened her eyes and took small sips. "If you say that, Lena will definitely scold you." Kumiko bought Lena a cup of wheat tea. But there are boys who like strawberry milk. In the process of learning, the body will want sweet things. Toru Watanabe bit on the straw and looked at the environment of Bayou School. Dark yellow tiles, neatly arranged fluorescent lights on the ceiling, and open classroom doors. In the corner of the corridor, there was a pile of graffiti on the table, missing a few chairs. It was an ordinary public high school with no distinguishing features other than the uniform of a sailor. "How come I don't have that kind of situation?" Kumiko asked. "That means you're not really studying." "Impossible. I'm the number one in the country. Would I lie? I rely on strawberry milk to replenish my sugar and keep my brain active." Sigh. Rin Kiyono helplessly sighed. "What's wrong?" Toru Watanabe immediately turned his head and asked with concern. "The glucose that replenishes the brain is made from rice, bread, noodles, and other starchy foods that are digested and absorbed by the body. Compared to grades, I think you should improve your common sense." "You're saying I don't have common sense?" Rin Kiyono showed a kind smile, confirming Toru Watanabe's doubts. Facing Kumiko's "how do you explain" eyes, Toru Watanabe shrugged indifferently. He took a sip of milk and said, "I used to be knowledgeable, and well-versed in both Chinese and Western, but since I have Dora A. Lin, I only know what I don't know." "But aren't you the number one in the country?" Kumiko kindly reminded him. "I hate it when people judge a person based on their grades. It's too narrow-minded. People should live in a wider world. But if you're the number one in the country, You should at least know that the brain needs sugar through. Kumiko. Toru Watanabe patted Kumiko's weak shoulder. I'm here. Kumiko thought to herself, this hand is too big. Toru Watanabe showed a charming smile and said gently, you must not be popular, right? Kumiko blinked. I'm not. Before she could finish, a shout came from afar. Stay away from Kumiko, you pervert. Toru Watanabe moved his hand away and pretended that he did nothing, then said to Lena, who was glaring at him, long time no see, Reina. I'm a fan of yours from Tokyo, and I'm here to see you. Go to hell. Lena glared at him, then looked at Kumiko with concern. Kumiko, he didn't do anything to you, right? I didn't have time. Kumiko replied. Hey. Under Lena's murderous gaze, Toru Watanabe defended himself. You're trying to drive a wedge between me and my idol. It's not good, right? Kumiko smiled happily. Everyone, now you know who's the one with the nasty personality, right? Kumiko, let's go. Lena grabbed Kumiko's hand. The afternoon ensemble practice is about to start. Wait a minute, Lena. Unable to break free, Kumiko could only shout to Toru Watanabe and Roland, hurry up and follow me. Toru Watanabe finished the strawberry milk in one gulp and threw it into a nearby trash can. He picked up Rin Kiyono's shoulder bag and extended his hand to her. Let's go, the weak and common sense Kiyono. Rin Kiyono glared at him with dissatisfaction. I still have the strength to stand up. Can't I carry that bag myself? Before Toru Watanabe could finish his words, Rin Kiyono had already stood up, her silky black hair swaying as she walked towards Kumiko and Roland. What are you still doing? Hurry up. Kiyono classmate, a guy carrying a girl's bag in a place like school, no matter how you look at it, it's a bit. The four of them arrived at the music classroom. Everyone should know them, right? Kumiko introduced Toru Watanabe and Roland to everyone. This time they're on a study trip to Kyoto, so I invited them to come to the club for an exchange. Then she said to the two of them, can you introduce yourselves? Rin Kiyono nodded. Hello everyone, I'm Rin Kiyono, a consultant and conductor in the Kamikawa High School band. My specialty is the trumpet. Everyone applauded enthusiastically and talked about it. Look closer, she's so beautiful. Her figure is amazing. Her skirt is so long, but I can see her long and thin legs. I think I know how she became a consultant. The applause stopped, and everyone quieted down, looking at Toru Watanabe. They had listened to the national competition's CD countless times and watched it again and again. But the sound of the oboe was still incredible. They asked the consultant teacher and the oboe Katsuki Yui, and received the answer. That's not a level that can be reached with hard work. Hello everyone, my instrument is the oboe, and my favorite food is Uji's matcha, especially matcha smoothies and matcha. Toru Watanabe classmate. Toru Watanabe, nice to meet you. Toru Watanabe nodded to everyone. Watanabe classmate, can you play the oboe for once? That's right, I'm your biggest fan. The new second-year head Yuko clapped her hands and said loudly, everyone quiet down. When everyone quieted down, she said to Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe, Kiyono classmate, can you lead us for the afternoon ensemble practice? Please. Rin Kiyono rubbed her chin and thought, it's Dance of the Three Suns and Moons, right? Yuko nodded excitedly. That's right. That's our free song. Kiyono classmate's memory is amazing. We only won the bronze medal, but she remembered the song we played. Kumiko was surprised. Don't mention the bronze medal, Kumiko. Lena sighed. Kumiko came back to her senses and looked at the embarrassed expressions of the surrounding students. She quickly apologized. In front of the national gold medal, it was inappropriate to say that her club only won the bronze medal. To be honest, Rin Kiyono glanced at them. I'm surprised that you were able to enter the national competition. Toru Watanabe loudly explained. Our school was able to win the gold medal because of Kiyono classmates' strictness. Everyone, please prepare yourselves. Yes. Not only did they not mind, but they also looked at Rin Kiyono curiously. Perhaps they were thinking of secretly learning from her? Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe, then walked up to the conductor's seat and looked at the score for Dance of the Three Suns and Moons. Watanabe, you're coming too? Kumiko asked expectantly. She felt like she could hear that incredible sound again. I never refuse a friend's request. I didn't bring any instruments. Does your club have an oboe? How could a public school like Hokuyu City, which didn't even have a school bus, buy such an expensive instrument? The only oboe they had was bought by Senpai Keizuka herself. While Kumiko was feeling regretful, Keizuka's calm voice sounded. If you don't mind, please use mine. Senpai Keizuka, is that okay? Kumiko was surprised. Yes. Keizuka nodded. I want to become stronger for Shime. Oh, is that so? Kumiko immediately understood. Toru Watanabe looked at the situation in front of him and felt that it was very familiar. He leaned over to Kumiko and whispered in her ear. Senpai with a cool name, do you like girls? What's wrong with liking girls? Lina squeezed between the two of them and looked up at Toru Watanabe with her beautiful face. Do you have any objections? None at all. To be honest, I like girls too. If you have time to expose your oh-so-erotic fetish, why don't you hurry up and look at the score? Rin Kiyono's cold gaze shot over. What do you think, Toru Watanabe? You're right. Toru Watanabe walked over to Keizuka. Keizuka stood up and handed the oboe to him, then sat down and stared at his fingers and lips without moving. Toru Watanabe looked at the reed and praised, Senpai Keizuka, although you're still far from my level, you're still an amazing reed player. Keizuka nodded slowly. Chapter 166. Toru Watanabe put the reed in his mouth and tried playing a short line. The unfamiliar oboe quickly took on his appearance. I'm good, he said as he took the reed out of his mouth. Everyone in Kitayuji's music department looked at him with shining eyes, except for Kaitsuki, who was sitting next to him. She was currently staring blankly at a certain spot with a thoughtful expression. Please play another part, Kumiko requested in a determined tone. Just the scale alone was beautiful. A good person would be really good at playing it. Don't you want an ensemble? Toru Watanabe asked. No problem, a short girl shouted as she clenched her fists and stood on tiptoe. Toru Watanabe was startled by her enthusiasm. He thought for a moment and said, all right, I should be able to play a short part. A few basic practice tunes slowly spread out from the oboe. The sound that made one's heart tremble and goosebumps rise penetrated the entire music room. Kumiko listened in silence, her heart racing. The performance soon ended. Everyone in the music department was not only impressed, but also dumbfounded. It was the same piece, but for some reason, every note that Toru Watanabe played was more beautiful than anyone else's. It was irresistible. Kumiko believed that this was what made music interesting. At the same time, she was afraid of this fact. She needed to muster up her courage to face the huge gap between herself and others. Right. Kumiko suddenly thought of a good idea. Why don't we broadcast it to the school during the ensemble? Let the whole school listen to it. Agreed. And it's lunch break. But I'll be nervous. No. My brain is already in chaos. Music score. Music score. Where's the music score? Everyone had different reactions, but almost everyone supported this idea. After Yuko nodded in confirmation, Kumiko looked at Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe, hoping to get their approval. No problem. Only when there's an audience can you play at your true level. Rin Kiyono nodded in agreement. What about Watanabe? There shouldn't be any problems, right? Kumiko asked in a fierce tone. Are you sure you want to do this? Toru Watanabe said hesitantly. Originally, after seeing me, everyone in Beiyu Empire would like me 100%. But after listening to my performance, it will become 100%. What kind of strange percentage is that? Just tell me if you agree or not. Lina snapped. I advise you to be more polite with your words. I'm your only fan. Be careful, or I'll stop being your fan. You. Lina had never seen such a shameless boy before. She was so angry that she was speechless. Toru Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono rubbed her throbbing temples. Don't waste my time. Okay, I have no more questions. Let's begin. Toru Watanabe's voice was crisp and clear. After everyone was ready and tuned in, the new deputy head, a girl named Nakagawa Natsuki, connected the music classroom to the school's broadcast system. Hello. I'm sorry to disturb everyone. This is the wind department. Today, we've invited the conductor and oboe who won the National Gold Award to exchange. While the deputy head was communicating with the school's teachers and students through the microphone, Toru Watanabe and Kumiko were also whispering to each other. How was your practice with the notes I gave you? You'll definitely be surprised. Kumiko replied with high morale. Your senpai is really amazing. She's quite amazing. Toru Watanabe said perfunctorily. Don't let me down. I'll always pay attention to the bass's tone. Forget about that. Kumiko seriously refused. Please concentrate on your own part. Currently, she could only brag about her, can't lose to anyone else's effort. As for her performance, please wait until next year. It would definitely give Watanabe a huge shock. Be good and call her sister Kumiko. That's all. Please listen to the wind department's noon ensemble, Dance of the Three Suns and the Moon. After the deputy heads exchange, the two also ended their conversation. Rin Kiyono looked around at everyone and slowly raised his baton. Phew. Uniform inhalations were heard through the broadcast, spreading to every corridor and every room in Hokuriku High School. In the office, the teachers put down their work. In the classroom, the students stopped chatting. Even the boys playing basketball on the field stopped shooting. Silence dominated Hokuriku High School. In the next moment, the main melody of the trumpet rose from the ground. In the third grade classroom, Asuka Tanaka was eating a sandwich and listening to the ensemble from the broadcast. The notes were neat and tidy, without a trace of impurity. It seemed that they did not waste any time even after she left. That's amazing, Asuka. A girl in the class praised. She's my junior after all. Asuka Tanaka took a sip of milk proudly. She didn't get the National Gold Award even with this level of skill? Asuka Tanaka put down the milk and smiled bitterly. The national competition is full of monsters, especially. The classroom, which was gradually becoming noisy, suddenly quieted down. It was as melodious as a gospel singer, as if God was sighing. Even the sun was resonating with it, making it even more sacred. What's this? A girl asked in surprise. A computer-composed tune? Asuka Tanaka shrugged and said casually, This is the National Gold Award for oboe. Liar? How can it be so good? Ha ha ha, it's a liar. If everyone is, look outside. A boy by the window shouted. Everyone looked out of the window instinctively. Their eyes were wide open and their mouths were agape. Their faces were filled with disbelief. In another third-grade classroom, the automatic pencil in Kwai's hand had stopped at some point. She looked out of the window at Hokuriku High School's broadcast. Countless white pigeons were flying in the sky. Their white feathers reflected the sunlight, making it hard for people to open their eyes. When the ensemble ended, Kumiko's cheeks were tinged with a faint blush. She thought that she had shown all the hard work she had put in during this period. But it was still not enough. She only knew a little of the content in the notebook. She wanted to keep improving, keep learning, and keep playing with everyone. Just as she was immersed in the performance, Toru Watanabe's low voice sounded in her ear. Turn off the broadcast. She didn't react. Go. Oh. Just as Kumiko subconsciously walked over, Rin Kiyono's cold and pleasant voice sounded. Before I give you pointers, you must first realize your own shortcomings. Your fingering can keep up with the rhythm, but your breathing can't keep up. Once you speed up, it becomes messy. I really wonder how you became Kansai's representative. Trombone section, do you understand the difference between full and too messy? If you don't, I suggest you ask a Mandarin teacher. French horn. Sitting in that position should be the second seat, right? Kumiko looked at the button to turn it off, and let out a long sigh. The section's reputation was saved, probably. And bass horn. Here. Kumiko immediately stood still. Instead of considering the diversity of the performance, it's better to let Kumiko play alone. For you, this arrangement will increase your chances of entering the national competition next year. Kumiko was happy to be praised, but she immediately looked at Nakagawa Natsuki with an apologetic look. Natsuki was one of the only two bass horn players left after leaving the section in the third year. Nakagawa Natsuki smiled at Kumiko and shook his head. Behind the upper bass horn on her knees, she tightly gripped the hem of her school uniform skirt. She wasn't angry at all, but she was unwilling to give up. Kumiko joined the section when she was young and played the bass horn until now. She only joined the section in the first year of high school, and then came into contact with the bass horn. Last year, she was eliminated from the B section during the selection. She must work hard and join the A section next year. A clear voice interrupted Natsuki Nakagawa's thoughts and Rin Kiyono's instructions. For the entire wind instrument department, the meaning of an afternoon break is too small. Toru Watanabe stood up. I can train Keizuka-senpai individually. What do you think? Train Keizuka-senpai individually? How confident must he be to say something like that? Kumiko was already better than Natsuki Nakagawa to begin with. After the national competition, she improved by leaps and bounds. However, she didn't dare to say something like that. She even felt uneasy when Natsuki took the initiative to ask her for advice. Keizuka nodded nonchalantly. Everyone snapped out of their depression and looked at Toru Watanabe curiously. He couldn't possibly give Rin Kiyono cruel instructions to a cute girl like Keizuka, who was also a senior, right? I've heard Hoki Yuji's performance. Keizuka-senpai's oboe is indeed excellent, Toru Watanabe said. But how should I say this? You still don't understand contrast. Keizuka tilted her head in confusion. Her small white ears peeked out from her short black hair. She wasn't the only one. The others couldn't understand what Toru Watanabe was talking about either. Was he joking? On the podium, Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and looked at Toru Watanabe. This person was always talking nonsense. He always talked about handsome guys in Tokyo and acted childish. However, if one underestimated him and believed him because of this, they would be fooled. He was good at using jokes to subtly influence people and make them obey him. Even someone as outstanding as herself and the annoying Miki Kujo would occasionally be manipulated by him. Keizuka-senpai, your solo was very stable. You were as calm as yourself. Keizuka remained expressionless in the face of praise. Calm girls are very charming, very charming. I really like calm girls such as Are-san. Even if she has a terrible personality, I still. Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono's voice sounded. Back to the topic. Keizuka-senpai, your oboe was played for that Kimi-senpai, right? Kimi is special. She's my most important friend. I only play for Kimi. Keizuka said the longest sentence of the day. The flute girl beside her, who was full of vitality, replied. Keizuka looked at her shyly and gently. The flute girl grinned at her. Friendship between girls is amazing. Toru Watanabe was so touched that he wiped the corners of his eyes. Now, I'm going to tell you my secret to becoming the most popular girl in Tokyo. I'm going to make this Kimi-senpai love you so much that she can't stop thinking about you for the rest of her life. Kimi-senpai was shocked. Yes. Keizuka looked straight at Toru Watanabe with a determined gaze. Kimi-senpai turned her head and looked at her good friend in disbelief. Toru Watanabe ignored Kimi-senpai's reaction and put on the air of being the most popular girl in Tokyo. If a girl who's usually calm and dignified can show her passionate, wild and crazy side at a critical moment, it will excite and captivate the other party. What? Keizuka's tone was emotionless. Her large eyes were filled with confusion. This was a pure and innocent child. Watanabe. Kumiko shouted with a red face. Pervert. Lena also turned her head away with a red face. Okay, yellow card. The people around him also burst into laughter and whispered to each other. They were all yellow cards. What I mean is, Kimi-senpai, when you play the oboe, you can try to be more emotional and passionate. Aren't you playing for Kimi-senpai? Then let her see your greedy and possessive love. Be so passionate that you'll melt her. Isn't it good to play the score perfectly? Keizuka asked in confusion. No. If I play according to the score, I'll never be able to show all the details. Toru Watanabe wagged his right index finger. The oboe is an instrument that has many ways to express itself. What are you thinking when you play it? Is there something you want to convey? Something I want to convey? Keizuka tilted her head and asked. It's love, it's love. Toru Watanabe stood up. We oboe musicians are believers of love. When we're given love in life and feel love, we need to express it with the oboe. This love is our oboe's ammunition. I'll do my best. Compared to Toru Watanabe's passion, Keizuka was as calm as a penguin in the South Pole. Toru Watanabe removed the reed, wiped it clean, put it back, and stuffed the oboe into Keizuka's hands. Play it for me, he said. Keizuka's slender fingers moved lightly on the keys. A clean sound rang out. Everyone was immersed in this sound. Kumiko admired Keizuka. She was truly amazing. No, it's boring. Toru Watanabe cut her off mercilessly. The score isn't that delicate. You need to smash it hard. Again. Keizuka played again. No. I didn't hear duong duong duong. I didn't smash it hard enough. Again. Keizuka played again. No. Toru Watanabe shook his head. When you're with Senior Yamaki, you've already shown your calm side. So, when you play the oboe, you need to let her feel your wet love. Only this kind of contrast can capture a man's heart. A man? Yamaki Shime was confused. Wet a man's heart. Kumiko repeated these words in a low voice as if she had given up everything. I'm sorry. Keizuka lowered her head. Don't apologize. You've tried your best. How about this? Toru Watanabe looked at Yamaki Shime. Senior Yamaki, can you please cooperate? Me? No problem. Toru Watanabe took a chair and let Yamaki Shime sit opposite Keizuka. Senior Yamaki, look at Senior Yamaki's face and play again. Keizuka stared at Yamaki Shime and played slowly. Toru Watanabe listened for a while and shook his head. No, it's not enough. He walked behind Keizuka and whispered in her ear. Senior Yamaki, do you see that? Senior Yamaki is right there. Do you want to open your arms and pounce on her? The breath on her neck, the sweat under her armpits, the smooth underbelly. Don't you want to smell it? Yamaki Shime hugged herself. Her face was full of fear. Following Toru Watanabe's description, Keizuka looked at Yamaki Shime's neck, armpits, and underbelly. Her breath became slightly turbid and heavy. However, her voice was still very accurate. Toru Watanabe had noticed long ago that Keizuka was extremely diligent in her daily practice. Music had long become an instinct. That's right. You have to blow such a moist breath on her body. Toru Watanabe said slowly. Look at her breasts. They're small but they're so perky. Look at those fair and tender legs under her pleated skirt. Don't you want to touch them? As Keizuka's gaze became more and more lustful, Yamaki Shime covered her chest with one hand and pulled her skirt down. She even turned her body slightly. She's shy, but she's also cute, right? Do you want to bully Shime like this? Do you want to hold her in your arms? Keizuka's voice became sticky. That's right. That's it. Naked words from the heart, naked love. With Toru Watanabe's voice, Keizuka's performance was filled with passion. It was no longer as cold as ice. Her fingers gently slid across the keys. Sometimes it was cheerful, sometimes it was melancholic, sometimes it was sweet, and sometimes it was sad. The tone seemed to become colorful and dazzling. Every trace of the melody was filled with emotion. In an instant, Kumiko seemed to see the music classroom filled with pink bubbles. It was incredible. Perfect. Toru Watanabe clapped his hands. In Kumiko's line of sight, Keizuka stopped playing and smiled happily. She seemed to have grasped something. Keizuka-senpai, you have to remember that you're not playing for the sake of restoring the score. You have to make Keizuki-senpai feel shy, touched, sad, and even embarrassed. You have to arrange her in a way that you like. The oboe is your weapon. Yes, I understand. Keizuka nodded excitedly. Keizuka, Umbrella Mushime, who was clutching her skirt and breasts, pleaded for her to stay. Keizuki-senpai, your voice is very clean and your pitch is very stable. For a high school student, your performance is very good. Now that I've recommended you, you've become a believer of love. In the future, you can definitely enter a music university and let the whole world hear your voice. As long as Shime can hear it, I'm satisfied. That's true. Toru Watanabe reacted. But when the time comes, Kaizuki-senpai will also let you go. She'll let you go to a more distant and better music temple. Keizuka shook her head. She hugged her oboe and looked at Umbrella Mushime without saying a word. Umbrella Mushime's bright and doting smile flashed with a hint of confusion. Keizuka had always been far more talented and hardworking than ordinary people. Her performance was even better. And just now, that even more moving voice had truly stirred her heart. In the future, if she became even more outstanding and could go to the best music university, would she be able to do it? Or would she let Keizuka accompany her to a normal university? Umbrella Mushime gripped her flute tightly. Lunch break passed quickly. Kumiko was sending off Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono at the school gate. Kumiko, remember the math notes I gave you? I'll be waiting for you at Tokyo University. You overestimate me. I thought you'd say, even if I can get in, I'll still accompany Lena to a women's university. Looks like the two of you aren't clingy enough. Don't say that again. Okay. Toru Watanabe wanted to say something else, but the bell rang in the distance, signaling the start of class. Let's go. He waved his hand decisively and walked down the hill with Rin Kiyono. Okay, goodbye. Kumiko was shocked by her own hoarse voice. When she came back to her senses, she realized that her eyes were almost red. Fortunately, Toru Watanabe had already turned around. Kiyono-san, how was my teaching method? Was the effect outstanding? I can guarantee to Hoki Yuji that the Keizuka Denglong will definitely become an amazing oboe player. If it doesn't work, I'll make it quake right now. I only saw you harassing the girls. Hey. It's because you're looking at this matter through colored glasses that you think I'm harassing you. If you calm down, then I. Their voices gradually became indistinct. Kumiko, it's time for class. Lena's voice came from behind her. Kumiko took a deep breath and calmed herself down. Coming. She suddenly remembered something Toru Watanabe had said when they first met today. Think about it. Everyone is charmed by me, but in the blink of an eye, they'll never see me again. Don't you think that's very youthful? Tokyo. She turned around and walked toward the school building. She looked into the distance with a sense of loss. Beyond the mountain behind the school, she could see the endless clear autumn sky. A plane flew from west to east, leaving a white tail line that divided the sky into two. Chapter 167. When the bus passed by Uji Bridge, Toru Watanabe rang the bell and got off with Rin Kiyono. Uji Bridge was the oldest Japanese-style bridge in Japan. It was 153 meters long and was built in 646 AD. Now, although the bridge was inevitably reinforced with cement, the railings were still made of wood, giving it a sense of history. Beside the bridge stood a stone statue of the author of The Tale of Genji. Under the bridge was Uji Bridge, where Kumiko usually played the bass horn. Is there anything special here? Rin Kiyono asked while holding the railing. Nothing special. I just want to take a walk with Kiyono-san on an autumn afternoon. Toru Watanabe looked at the white waves rolling on the water. Lies. Toru Watanabe smiled and said, actually, it's because there are beautiful reeds here. As an oboe musician and a professional reed player, I have a good impression of reeds as the raw material for reeds. It's actually such a boring reason. Boring. Toru Watanabe turned back and looked at Rin Kiyono's face as she looked into the distance. In this world, there are people who like the sky, people who like flowers, and people who are obsessed with trams. Do you think they're all boring? No. Rin Kiyono denied it in a casual tone. I just want to mock you. I'm not interested in what other people like. You're really cunning, Razor-san. Even if you mock me, it's hard for me to get angry. Rin Kiyono turned back and looked at Toru Watanabe. She tucked her hair behind her ear and said with a smile, this is one of the ways to make you like me. The breeze of Uji Bridge brushed her cheeks, and her long hair swayed gently, a fragrance that made Toru Watanabe feel very comfortable. If you tell me your purpose, I won't be touched at all. It's okay. If it's too simple, I don't want to do it. Rin Kiyono was full of confidence. I'm impressed. Toru Watanabe nodded and looked into the distance along the flowing river of the Uji River. Far away on the riverbank, there was a snow-white bird with something in its beak. In order to see clearly, Toru Watanabe stuck his head out of the railing. Rin Kiyono glanced at him. Compared to him, the wooden railing seemed too short. She felt that he would fall down easily. She subconsciously reached out and gently tugged at the corner of his uniform. Chilu? Heron? Toru Watanabe turned his head. Kiyono-sama, what is that? Qingyi-rin calmly let go of his hand and followed his line of sight. Catch it first and let me see it clearly. Then I'll tell you what it is. Then let's go. I think it's quite fat. I can already imagine the scene of oil dripping onto the charcoal and bursting into flames when it's being roasted. The two of them walked down the stairs beside the bridge. Kiyono-san, do you like chili powder when roasting? I heard that some people like to dip their food in sugar. It's an unimaginably perverted behavior. When I eat roasted suckling pig, I occasionally try the perverted behavior that Toru Watanabe-san talked about. When I think of Kiyono-san dipping her food in sugar, this way of eating also becomes cute. The two of them chatted as they moved closer. Unfortunately, before the two of them could get close, the white bird raised its long neck, swallowed the fish in its mouth, and flew away. The two of them continued to stroll along the riverbank, walking on the stone-paved embankment. The lush maple leaves shone through the sunlight. Some benches were placed beside the river, where joggers and tourists would rest. Fusang is the best in autumn, and the maple leaves are tender and cold. Toru Watanabe recited loudly. Who wrote it? Lu-sun. Rin Kiyono nodded elegantly and looked into the distance. Under the sun's brilliance, the surface of the Uji River shimmered with colorful sparkles. The water hit the wooden piles and stones, splashing white foam. In the distance, the mountain peak that welcomed the maple leaf season was dyed red and yellow. She retracted her gaze and noticed that Toru Watanabe had picked a miscanthus from the surrounding weeds and was waving it while walking. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt happy, and a faint warmth overflowed in her chest. Watanabe-san, do you want to hear my story? She said this sentence in a mood that she had never felt before. I'm not interested in other people's past. Toru Watanabe stopped waving the miscanthus and turned to look at her. Except for Raso. Rin Kiyono didn't express any opinion on this sentence. I've always lived without expectations, she said. I don't associate with anyone. I don't expect others to respond to anything I do, and I don't need others to respond. Toru Watanabe didn't say a word and stared at the reeds not far ahead. When I was a child, everyone laughed, but I didn't even want to raise my eyebrows. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say that I couldn't raise my eyebrows, because what caused the laughter were all lies. I only felt disgusted. I can probably guess such a past. Toru Watanabe nodded. Under the shade of the maple tree, the two of them walked towards the reeds. At that time, I would mercilessly point out that others were lying to their faces. At first, everyone treated me as a child and laughed without caring at all. But after a few times, they couldn't laugh anymore and looked at me as if I was a weirdo. There were two girls sitting by the riverbank, and Rin Kiyono stopped narrating. When they were far away from the two girls, she said self-deprecatingly, the people around me began to stay away from me and ridicule me for thinking I was noble and virtuous, including your Mickey. When she said the last sentence, she smiled and glanced at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe awkwardly threw the miscanthus into the river and clapped his hands. Rin Kiyono smiled and said, I don't mean to blame you. After all, it has nothing to do with you. The two of them walked to the reeds, and Toru Watanabe sat down on an old bench. He patted the extra space next to him and motioned for Rin Kiyono to sit down as well. Rin Kiyono pressed down her pleated skirt and sat next to him in a very ladylike manner. The two of them sat in the shade of the tree, side by side, and watched the endless stream of the Ujikawa for a while. I don't think the problem is with you, Toru Watanabe said. You are fundamentally different from them. You are a flower that bloomed in the wrong season. Wrong season? The focus should be on the flower, right? Toru Watanabe looked at her. I really like your personality. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and smiled mischievously. Why don't you tell me about it separately? Don't even think about it. I like Mickey. After decisively refusing, Toru Watanabe looked at the Ujikawa again. I thought you would be in a very negative mood right now. I didn't expect you to still be able to joke. The world won't be gentle to negative people, Watanabe-san. That makes sense. I learned something new. Toru Watanabe nodded seriously. He wanted to say something comforting, but Rin Kiyono wasn't a weak person who needed comforting. She didn't say these things to gain his sympathy. Moreover, he had never experienced the same thing. No matter how he put himself in her shoes, he couldn't comfort her. A breeze blew, and the leaves above his head rustled. A red leaf fell on Rin Kiyono's lap. She gently picked up the leaf, and facing the sunlight that squeezed through the leaves, she whispered in a clear voice. The wind is blowing. Do you want to live? No, there's no need for that. Toru Watanabe suddenly felt sad. He realized that Rin Kiyono's past wasn't just what she said just now. He picked up a relatively intact leaf from the ground. It's because of the decay of these maple leaves that the cherry blossoms here will be even more beautiful next spring. Rin Kiyono smiled and took back her hand that was holding the maple leaf. I just suddenly thought of this sentence. Watanabe-san, you don't have to be so anxious to comfort me. I just said it casually. You think too much. Watanabe, you really like to lie. Rin Kiyono smiled helplessly, her slender hand quickly turning the leaf stem. I'm sorry for living in a way that you hate. Toru Watanabe didn't apologize at all. Sometimes, even if you hate it, you still have to endure it. That's how life is. Indeed, but I'm a little sad when you say that. I just said that I don't have expectations for anyone, right? Rin Kiyono looked at him. Yes. Toru Watanabe threw the leaf in his hand under the bare cherry blossom tree. This attitude continued until Watanabe-san appeared. I have expectations for you, although I don't want to admit it. What kind of expectations? I'm not sure. Rin Kiyono turned her gaze to the river and showed a thoughtful expression. This kind of feeling is very vague. If I have to say it, it's like if I fall into the Uji River now, I won't expect anyone to save me. I don't care if they come to save me. But if you don't immediately jump down to save me, I'll probably be very angry. The water is so strong, and there are so many stones. What if I drown? Then will you jump or not? What's there to say? Toru Watanabe answered. No matter when or what kind of river you fall into, I'll unhesitatingly jump down to save you. Then you'll have to practice your swimming skills. With how cautious I am, if I really fall into the river, it'll definitely be the most dangerous one. Rin Kiyono smiled faintly. Her smile was like a distant cloud that flowed in the air like quicksand. I can't guarantee anything, but... Toru Watanabe picked up a stone from the ground and threw it with all his might. Even if the wind blows, I won't give up on life. Rin Kiyono's gaze followed the stone. The stone didn't fall even after it disappeared from her sight. Watanabe-san, you're obviously very smart, but you deliberately pretend to be stupid and casual. Deep down, you must look down on everyone and think that everyone is an idiot, right? Absolutely not. Toru Watanabe flatly denied. Yep, you're lying again, Rin Kiyono said with a smile. The surroundings were overgrown with weeds, and unknown flowers were blooming everywhere. The reeds that were almost as tall as a person swayed comfortably in the wind. The sun moved a little to the west, and the shade above their heads deviated. The two of them were bathed in the sunlight. On the way back from Uji to Kyoto, Rin Kiyono slept the whole time. The sky was clear, and the inside of the tram was bright. After returning to the Eastern Mountain Villa, Toru Watanabe went to Class 4's boys' bunk to take a look. If anyone was playing cards, they could spend the last bit of time together. However, there wasn't anyone playing cards. There was, however, a corpse of Osamu Kanai. Toru Watanabe looked at him, then asked Keisuke Saito, who was playing a game next to him, "Did you fail?" "I admire Koi-san's gentleness. And I also like to play games with you, but dating, let's just be friends." Keisuke Saito pinched his throat and imitated Aoi Ichiki's tone. So noisy. Osamu Kunai, who was lying on the tatami with his back to them, threw a pillow at them. Seeing the pillow coming at his head, Toru Watanabe could only reach out his hand to block it. Keisuke Saito didn't care. His fingers were still madly pressing the switch button, and he said, "It's just a failed confession. The chances weren't high to begin with. You should have been mentally prepared." Toru Watanabe glanced at him. This guy, before the confession, was the one who was the most active in egging on Osamu Kunai, but now he was laughing at him. However, being able to stay here and accompany them was already a way for boys to express their friendship. Koi-san. Toru Watanabe walked over with the pillow. Get up. Osamu Kunai didn't say a word. Toru Watanabe kicked his butt. What? Osamu Kunai said impatiently. I'm taking you out to relax. I'm not going. Osamu Kunai covered his head with the blanket. If you don't go, I'll tell everyone in school about you liking Yui-san, and how you were rejected. If you want to say it, then say it. And the type of movies you like. You. Osamu Kunai lifted the blanket and glared at Toru Watanabe. Osamu Kunai, this guy liked the sibling type, the kind that was close to each other. One Aoi Ichiki is a small matter. Toru Watanabe threw the pillow aside and said casually, if people know about your interests, you won't be able to get a girlfriend for 3 years in high school. No, you won't be able to get a girlfriend in university. I'll go. Osamu Kunai gave up on himself. Look at you. Toru Watanabe laughed. Isn't it just a girlfriend? You're studying in Tokyo's top private high school. Your grades are in the top 3,000 in the country. Your sports nerves are developed, and you're already in Koshien in your first year of high school. Why worry about not being able to find a girlfriend? Then why did Yui-san reject me? She doesn't like baseball. Then what does she like? Rugby. Then I'll join the rugby club next year. Osamu Kunai picked up his school jacket and put it on with a gloomy face. Wait, how would I know what Aoi Ichiki likes? Can't you have some sense of judgment? After Osamu Kunai put on his clothes, he walked in front of Keisuke Saito and snatched the game console. What are you doing? I've been playing for 20 minutes, and I still haven't saved it. Give it back. Osamu Kunai sneered and turned it off without mercy. Seeing that you're heartbroken, I won't bicker with you today. The three of them walked out of the bunk and walked towards the door. On the way, Toru Watanabe said to Osamu Kunai, it's good to fail once. If a person wants to become great, failure is a necessary process. Osamu Kunai stared at the ground and walked without saying a word. Toru Watanabe didn't care about his reaction and continued. Even someone as great as me only wanted to muddle through and experience things that ordinary people can't stand. Only then did I get rid of my meaningless life and become a great person. What do you mean by muddling through? Keisuke Saito asked. Let's say that ordinary people's standard of being rich is 10 or 20 million a year. Then my standard of muddling through is at least 100 or 200 million a year. You call that muddling through? Osamu Kunai said in annoyance. It can't be helped. In my line of work, the bottom line is quite low. If other people in the same line of work know that my annual income is only 100 million a year, they'll probably laugh their heads off. What's your profession? Can you introduce him to me? Keisuke Saito asked curiously. A handsome guy from Tokyo. Isn't he just a pretty boy? Osamu Kunai said with disdain. Forget it, pretty boys are also part of our business. Toru Watanabe tolerated him. When the three of them walked to the door, they met unexpected people. Rin Kiyono and Aoi Ichiki. Keisuke Saito smiled slyly and used his elbow to poke Osamu Kunai's side. Osamu Kunai pushed him away with all his might. Aoi Ichiki looked at the three of them, and her expression was a bit awkward. Toru Watanabe walked up. Where are you going? Classmate Yaki said that there's a very accurate divination club, and she wants to take a look. Rin Kiyono replied. Divination? Toru Watanabe thought for a moment. Can we go together? I haven't thought of where to go yet. Watanabe. Osamu Kunai quickly walked up and shouted in a low voice. Toru Watanabe said to Aoi Ichiki. Classmate Yaki, you don't mind if we go together, right? Okay. Aoi Ichiki replied a beat later. Thus, the five of them walked out of the Eastern Mountain Villa and prepared to go to the divination club. The three boys fell behind. Watanabe, what are you doing? Osamu Kunai asked in a low voice, flustered and exasperated. Is it embarrassing that your confession failed? Isn't that obvious? You're classmates, and you'll see each other every day in the future. You might even be in the same class in the second year. Rather than waiting for the embarrassment in the future, it's better to take advantage of the current situation and get rid of the sadness and awkwardness from your failure. Osamu Kunai looked at Aoi Ichiki's back in front of him. Toru Watanabe followed his gaze and looked at Aoi Ichiki, then quickly shifted his gaze to Rin Kiyono. Don't thank me. He patted Osamu Kunai's shoulder. After all, as an Ultraman, it's my duty to guide humans. Don't try to act cool. You're just trying to show off. Osamu Kunai slapped Toru Watanabe's hand away. There's no difference, there's no difference. We're all friends of justice. Chapter 168. The roads in Kyoto were straight. Even the corners were at 90 degrees. It was like a chessboard with straight lines. The divination club that Aoi Ichiki mentioned was near Kagawa. She led the way according to the map. The five of them walked along Kagawa at a leisurely pace. When they reached the Nijo Bridge, they turned between Harmony Zoo and Dharmakura. The divination club named Jingue-do was located at the end of the alley. The style of the alley made it seem like an ordinary shopping street. There was a photo studio filled with pictures, a stationery shop that sold stationery for primary school students, a florist shop with flower language on the board. I don't think the divination club should be in a place like this. Keisuke Saito stared at the entrance of the small bookstore. There were some erotic magazines there. The covers were full of swimsuit models with good figures. Maybe it's because the houses in Kyoto aren't cheap. Osamu Kunai glanced at the vending machine in the corner. It sold some functional dolls. You can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't look down on a shop because of its location. As for Toru Watanabe, he was more interested in the photo studio. Kimonos were out of the question. There were classic Western aristocratic dresses and tight-fitting riding outfits. When he came back to his senses, Rin Kiyono was looking at him with disdain. Do you want to go in and take a look? She said mockingly with a condescending smile. Why would I buy flowers? I'm just curious about flower language. Toru Watanabe shook his head. Have we arrived? Yeah. Aoi Ichiki looked at the golden signboard of the divination club, then looked down at her phone. It's here. Let's go in. The fortune teller was a middle-aged woman in a kimono. She was about 40 years old. Her face was covered with serious wrinkles. But when she spoke, her voice didn't sound mysterious. Instead, it sounded very normal and friendly. Perhaps it was because it was common for high school students to come here for fortune-telling, but she didn't show any surprise when she saw the five people in school uniforms. She and Aoi Ichiki sat facing each other in a room with a glass window that overlooked the Okawa River. The other four sat behind Aoi Ichiki. The two of them began their divination. What do you want to divine? Studies? Or friendship? Or love? The clairvoyant asked gently. Yes. Aoi Ichiki remembered that Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito were still there. Can I watch all of them? Of course, the price is the same regardless of whether it's the same or all of them. The fortune teller shuffled the tarot cards. All right, please pick one card. Aoi Ichiki picked one out and handed it to her. No matter the result is good or bad, please tell me everything. Yes, don't worry. The fortune teller looked at the tarot cards for a while. How old are you this year? 16. 16 years old. Have you achieved a satisfactory result in a competition recently? Aoi Ichiki's eyes widened in surprise. She nodded vigorously. Yes, yes, yes. Based on your age and this tarot card, things might not go well next year. Yes, yes, yes. It's so accurate. Aoi Ichiki's eyes were shining. Without Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe, the Kamikawa High School band's performance next year was indeed worrying. Toru Watanabe leaned slightly and whispered to Rin Kiyono, who was sitting elegantly. It seems to be quite accurate. Is she lying? Rin Kiyono felt his hot breath on her ear. She looked straight ahead and scolded, "Sit tight." Okay. Toru Watanabe straightened his back. At some point, the fortune teller's smile became gentler. She said to the excited Aoi Ichiki, "Although there will be setbacks in the competition, don't worry. In school, as long as you stay focused as usual, you will continue to have a smooth sailing." Yes. What about friendship? What will happen? The fortune teller looked at the tarot cards for a while. She suddenly looked surprised as if she had discovered something. Congratulations. Friendship is very good. In April next year, you will meet an amazing friend in your new class. April next year. Aoi Ichiki thought about the students in the 4 classes in the first grade. She couldn't think of anyone who would be an amazing friend. But she didn't care about friendship for the time being. She asked nervously, "What about love?" "The person you like is a friend from the club, right?" the fortune teller said in a certain tone. You can divine that? Also came to Kyoto this time. Yes. Someone who looks very good and has excellent grades, right? That's right. Aoi Ichiki's right hand clutched the collar of her shirt. She looked straight at the fortune teller. What will happen? The fortune teller didn't say anything. She just stared at the tarot cards for a long time. Osamu Kanai came over and said to Toru Watanabe in a low voice, "So Itsuki classmate likes you." Toru Watanabe was stunned. He turned his head and frowned at him. "What are you talking about?" "I think so too." Keisuke Saito nodded. "How could it be me?" "A friend from the club, came to Kyoto together, looks good, grades good." Osamu Kanai stared fiercely at Toru Watanabe. "If it's not you, then who is it?" I. Toru Watanabe couldn't defend himself. He could only look at Aoi Ichiki. She was looking at the fortune teller expectantly and didn't notice the situation. He looked at Rin Kiyono with pleading eyes. Rin Kiyono stroked her chin. "I feel like drinking coffee. I'll buy it for you later." Rin Kiyono put down her hand with satisfaction. "I know who Itsuki classmate likes. She told me before that it's not Watanabe." "That's good." Osamu Kanai sighed in relief. Although Aoi Ichiki was free to like whoever she liked, he still hoped that the person she liked wasn't Toru Watanabe, whether it was from the perspective of a friend or competitiveness. That's strange. Keisuke Saito asked, "Is there a guy who is more handsome than Watanabe, has better grades, and is more popular with girls?" "No." Rin Kiyono's tone was indifferent. "But to like someone, it's not just about being handsome and having good grades." "That's right. You also have to be as honest as me," Toru Watanabe said seriously. "Sit down." Rin Kiyono's tone suddenly became strict. Not only Toru Watanabe, even Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito didn't dare to speak. The 3 boys straightened their backs and obediently put their hands on their knees. When Aoi Ichiki nervously moved her butt for the second time, the fortune teller finally looked away from the tarot cards. Sometimes divination works. Sometimes it doesn't, so even if the result isn't good, please don't take it to heart. She said this sentence with a regretful tone. "What do you mean?" Aoi Ichiki, who was kneeling, slightly straightened her body. "I suggest that you choose someone else." Saying this, the fortune teller gently put down the tarot cards in her hand. How could this be? Aoi Ichiki's sitting posture suddenly relaxed. "That Iki-san." Osamu Kanai's voice was frighteningly sharp. He hurriedly cleared his throat and then continued. "The fortune teller also said that sometimes divination doesn't work, so don't take it to heart." Aoi Ichiki turned around and forced a smile. "Thank you, Koi-san, but I can probably guess the result." Saying this, she turned around and bowed to the fortune teller. "Thank you very much. If I can help you, then that's great." The fortune teller also bowed deeply to her. She raised her head and said to the 4 people behind her, "Does anyone else want a divination?" Rin Kiyono showed an uninterested expression. The 3 boys looked at each other. "I don't have any money," Keisuke Saito said bluntly. "I've already accepted my fate," Osamu Kanai said. Aoi Ichiki, who was sitting next to Rin Kiyono, heard this. Her disappointed expression was a bit awkward. and she looked at him apologetically. Before Toru Watanabe could say anything, Keisuke Saito grabbed his arm. Watanabe, why don't you try? Let's see if you can live a life of 100 million a year. That's right. Go. Osamu Kunai clapped his hands in agreement. Guest, please sit here. The fortune teller gestured to the seat Aoi Ichiki had just sat on. Okay. Toru Watanabe could only stand up. You two, listen carefully to my glorious future. It's best if you take a notebook. The seat was still warm, and there was still the girl's body heat. He should let Osamu Kunai do it. What would you like to test? The fortune teller asked as she shuffled the tarot cards. Career, friendship, love. Please pick a card. The fortune teller pointed the tarot card at Toru Watanabe. How old are you this year? 16. Toru Watanabe handed her the card he had drawn. Career. The fortune teller muttered. I can't tell what you'll achieve in the future, but everything will be smooth sailing, so I suggest you set your goal higher, because everything will be successful. What about 20 billion a year? Toru Watanabe asked. That will also be smooth sailing. As if 20 billion was too much, the fortune teller added. That's what the tarot card says. Toru Watanabe turned around and said to the four. It seems that it's only a matter of time before I'm written into the textbooks. Since everything will be smooth sailing, and you set your goal at 20 billion a year, that's all Watanabe can do, Rin Kiyono said expressionlessly. Then I'll change it to 20 billion a year. Toru Watanabe turned around and asked the fortune teller. That's fine, right? The fortune teller replied with an awkward but enthusiastic smile. As long as you're determined to do it, I believe you'll succeed. What about friendship? Right, let's just calculate my friendship with this beautiful girl. Toru Watanabe pointed at Rin Kiyono. No problem. The fortune teller stared at the tarot cards for a while, then at the two of them. After a long time. According to the cards, the friendship between the two of you won't be very harmonious. Is that so? The fortune teller raised her head and looked at Toru Watanabe awkwardly. The others also observed his expression with some trepidation. Although Toru Watanabe rarely smiled, it was the first time they saw him so completely expressionless. There was an indescribable sense of oppression. Only Rin Kiyono was calm and even smirked at Toru Watanabe. Although it won't be harmonious, there's one thing. The fortune teller made a gesture of emphasis. The compatibility between the two of you is not to be underestimated. So we still can't be friends? Toru Watanabe's cold voice revealed his lack of interest in the fortune teller. The fortune teller hesitated for a while, but finally answered with a definite yes. What about love? Toru Watanabe tidied up the sleeves of his school uniform, looking like it was about time to leave. The fortune teller had been through a lot and had been scolded in public for scamming money before, so she quickly ignored Toru Watanabe's attitude. In terms of love, she carefully studied the tarot cards as if there was really something written on them. You have very strict requirements for yourself and your other half, so you have very little experience in love. Yeah. Toru Watanabe nodded indifferently. But in fact, your popularity is unparalleled. There are always all kinds of temptations around you. And if you don't pay attention, you will overindulge. Overindulge? Ha ha ha. Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito both burst into laughter. Aoi Ichiki also laughed in a low voice, embarrassed. Rin Kiyono found it very funny and sighed, looking out the window in boredom. The sun was about to set, and soon, the sky would turn into a short and beautiful scarlet color. Yeah. Toru Watanabe nodded perfunctorily. I'll pay attention. Anything else? Although the cards show that there are countless thorns in front of you, as long as you persevere, there will be a smooth road ahead. Understood. The fortune teller finally said, it's better for you to focus on your career and carry out a rejection attitude, and your life will be very smooth. After Toru Watanabe finished, the fortune teller asked if there was anyone else who needed to be divined. Aoi Ichiki said to Rin Kiyono, Kiyono classmate, why don't you try it too? It seems to be quite accurate. Is it accurate? Toru Watanabe interrupted and asked. Aoi Ichiki avoided his gaze in fear, and said to Rin Kiyono, just try it, you're already here anyway. Rin Kiyono looked at the expressionless Toru Watanabe and thought for a moment, okay. She walked forward and sat down on the cushion, feeling the residual heat, and adjusted her position uncomfortably. What do you want to divine? The fortune teller asked. Career and friendship. I've already grasped my own destiny. Love. Really? Aoi Ichiki covered her mouth. I didn't think that Kiyono classmate would be interested in love. Apart from career and friendship, there's only one choice left, right? Rin Kiyono explained helplessly. She drew a tarot card, asked about her age, and the fortune teller began to answer. You'll be attracted to men who are full of the unknown. Isn't that quite accurate? Everyone looked at Toru Watanabe in confusion, who suddenly became happy again. Rin Kiyono glanced at him coldly and motioned for the fortune teller to continue. Compared to marriage, I'm more concerned about the tacit understanding of the soul. Rin Kiyono's attitude was ambiguous and she didn't comment. There's one more thing you need to pay special attention to. The fortune teller looked at the beautiful girl in front of him. Although you're very smart, sometimes you'll choose to believe the other person's words even when you know they're lying. That's impossible, Qing Yelin denied without even thinking. After experiencing the matter with Toru Watanabe, the fortune teller was already used to it, and he said with a smile, regardless of whether the divination is accurate or not, please use it as a reference, and work hard to do what you want to do. Probably because Keisuke Saito said that he didn't have money, she didn't ask if they still needed to do divination. After paying, the five of them walked out of the Book of Fortune Divination Hall. The atmosphere was completely filled with the aura of dusk. Walking on the bridge, they could see the faint sunset on the surface of the mountain in the distance, and even the Otagawa River was plated with a layer of gold. Yitsuki-san, what do you plan to do next? Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and asked Aoi Ichiki, who was leaning on the bridge with both hands. Aoi Ichiki looked down at the flowing river. I want to ask my senpai to come out. The water flowed slowly, and a small stone poked its head out of the water, as if it wanted to stop the water, but it was a useless resistance, and the dark water avoided the small stone and flowed in the same direction. Then we'll go first. Toru Watanabe, who had been running around all day, said with a yawn. Not letting others disturb Aoi Ichiki's confession could be considered his job for the time being. In addition, even if he promised not to tell anyone, Mayasahi was still his girlfriend, and it would be awkward if he continued to stay after seeing his girlfriend being confessed to by a girl. Wait a minute. Aoi Ichiki turned to look at them. Koen Watanabe, and Kawai-san, I hope you can stay. Is it okay? Toru Watanabe looked at her. Yes. Aoi Ichiki nodded seriously. She might have done this because Osamu Kunai liked her, but no matter what the reason was, Toru Watanabe was not interested. Then we'll stay? He asked Osamu Kunai. Although Osamu Kunai was confused, he still said, I'm fine with it. Wait a minute, what about me? Keisuke Saito pointed at himself. He had forgotten about him. Aoi Ichiki smiled embarrassedly. Saito-san, if you're willing, you can also stay. Then Aoi Ichiki called Mayasahi and asked her to come here with the excuse of having dinner. On the other side of the phone, Mayasahi agreed with her usual calm voice. Before she came, Toru Watanabe, Osamu Kunai, and Keisuke Saito were playing around by the river. The two of them asked what was going on, but Toru Watanabe refused to answer, saying that he would know later. Aoi Ichiki's secret was better left to her. Chapter 169. Toru Watanabe looked at the other side of the river, found the right angle, and threw the stone in his hand. The stone bounced up and down, creating white water ripples. Its speed was so fast that it looked like a lizard running on the water. How is it? After confirming that the stone had hit the other side, he turned around and asked the other four. It bounced dozens of times, right? Keisuke Saito was shocked. How did you do it? In 2004, a French scientist published an article in Nature. Toru Watanabe patted the dust off his hands. The number of times a stone bounces depends on 4 parameters. Initial velocity, rotation speed, the distance between the stone and the water surface when it enters the water. Senior Mayasahi is here. Aoi Ichiki's anxious and uneasy voice interrupted him. My Asahi's slender figure was embellished on the bridge that was filled with the colors of the setting sun. She was looking at them, but because of the backlight, no one could see her expression clearly. Let's go up, Aoi Ichiki said as she started walking. Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito immediately followed. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono, who was sitting on the bench. She was elegant and beautiful. Compared to her, the river was not even worth mentioning. Looking at her, Toru Watanabe said, "It depends on 4 parameters. Initial velocity, rotation speed, the distance between the stone and the water surface when it enters the water, the angle, and the material of the stone." Rin Kiyono stood up, combed her hair calmly and walked towards the bridge without looking back. Rin Kiyono was definitely a god. How could an ordinary high school student read nature? When Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono reached the bridge, the atmosphere was very tense. Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito remained silent. Aoi Ichiki looked at my Asahi nervously. Only my Asahi reacted normally. However, when Toru Watanabe appeared behind Aoi Ichiki, she tilted her head slightly. His calm expression was as colorful as the river of Duck Creek at dusk. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two of them. Aoi Ichiki gripped the handrails of the bridge so tightly that her fingers turned white. Senior Mai? Yeah. Aoi Ichiki took a deep breath. Under her sweater and shirt, her slender abdomen, which only a 16-year-old girl would have, visibly contracted. Nervousness was transmitted to everyone along with the shockingly loud breathing. Even Toru Watanabe, who knew that his confession would be in vain, was a little nervous. Since junior high school, Aoi Ichiki felt that her face was so hot that it was about to spit fire. Her heart was beating so loudly that it was deafening. She took another deep breath. I like you, senior. I've always liked you. Since junior high school, I've always liked you. Thank you. My Asahi nodded calmly. After a moment of silence, Aoi Ichiki finally reacted. She hurriedly said, "It's the like in love, not like. Senior. Please date me." Keisuke Saito's mouth was wide open, his eyes shining. Osamu Kanai was shocked and kept blinking. Sorry. Hearing the answer, Aoi Ichiki clenched her fist and said unwillingly, "Is it because you don't like girls?" "I have someone I like. So that's the case, haha." She laughed awkwardly. Aoi Ichiki's world fell into a desolate silence. Then, the sound of the Duck River and the sound of a car engine roaring across the bridge filled her ears like thunder. Looking at Aoi Ichiki's back, Toru Watanabe took 2 steps forward. Senior, can you accompany me to the river?" He wanted to give Aoi Ichiki some time to organize her emotions. "I just discovered the technique of wasting water. Do you want to see it?" "Sure." After Toru Watanabe and my Asahi left, Aoi Ichiki finally turned around. She looked at the 3 people who were left behind and scratched her face shyly. I feel disappointed and relieved at the same time. She took a deep breath and continued with a smile. But the probability of 2 people liking each other is small, let alone the same sex. Even if it's just a casual conversation, it's hard to find a few in a lifetime, right? As she spoke, Aoi Ichiki's eyes were filled with tears, and her world became foggy. She wiped the corners of her eyes and said while crying and laughing, "Kiyono-san, I've troubled you during this period of time. I'm really. The word thank you was stuck in her throat and she couldn't say it out. Aoi Ichiki could only nod slightly at Rin Kiyono, and then look at the large text mountain in the distance. Osamu Kanai saw transparent tears break free from her eyes and slide down her cheeks. He felt that he had to say something. "Yumiki-san, you're already amazing." Osamu Kanai's voice was distorted from nervousness. "If I like someone of the same sex, I wouldn't even dare to confess, so you. Osamu Kanai hated that he didn't read more books. He couldn't even complete a sentence of comfort. Just as he was anxious and didn't know what to do, Aoi Ichiki squatted down as if she had been hollowed out. She had her back to everyone, covered her mouth, and cried softly by the pillar of Nijo Bridge. Toru Watanabe picked up a stone and threw it at the beginning of the darkening river. The stone flew straight to the opposite bank. "How was it?" He turned to ask my Asahi. "Amazing. Asahi clapped lightly. Toru Watanabe looked at her clear eyes staring straight at him and said with a smile, "Senior, you didn't even look at it, right?" Asahi smiled and narrowed her eyes. "I've been looking at it the whole time." Toru Watanabe picked up another stone and calculated the angle to throw it. "Senior, what do you think about Yitsuki-san's matter? I don't like anyone except Toru." Asahi had an indifferent attitude. She looked at Toru Watanabe's slightly slipping sleeve, from which she could see his wrist. Toru Watanabe didn't know what to say. First of all, his relationship with Aoi Ichiki was ordinary. They weren't familiar with each other at all. They were just casual acquaintances. When it came to love, both parties had to follow the will of each other. It was impossible to ignore the other party's opinion and ask her to agree just because one party was pitiful, liked more deeply, and looked more pitiful. He looked at the Kagawa River in front of him and remembered Rin Kiyono's words when he was in Ujigawa. "The world won't be gentle to negative people, Watanabe-san. The world won't be gentle to people who are affectionate without permission." Toru Watanabe threw the stone in his hand. At this time, the sun had completely disappeared. The stone flew over the delta in the river and disappeared into the darkness. Did it reach the opposite bank? He wasn't sure. The wind started to blow. Perhaps it was because the Kagawa River was nearby, but the night wind that brushed past his cheeks was colder than a few days ago. Music could be heard from the other side of the river. It was probably the maverick students of Kyoto University playing. Toru Watanabe saw that it was about time. He clapped his hands and walked towards Asahi. "Let's go back." "Okay." Asahi's soft hand lifted her long hair, exuding a sweet fragrance. As they walked, she suddenly reached out and held Toru Watanabe's hand. "Senpai." Toru Watanabe was shocked. Fortunately, the sky was dark and the moon hadn't risen yet. In order to avoid embarrassment, the two of them walked further away. The people on the bridge couldn't see them clearly. "Are you scared?" "Of course." Asahi seemed to be satisfied with Toru Watanabe's reaction. She smiled and tilted her head slightly. Her silky black hair cascaded down as she moved. Toru Watanabe stared at her. Her clear eyes, moist lips, bulging uniform breasts, and smug lips. He reached out his hand and pinched her skirt, clad buttocks. "You scared me." Asahi's delicate lips let out a breath that didn't hurt at all. She leaned her head on Toru Watanabe's shoulder, and then grabbed Toru Watanabe's hand. She held it and avoided the slightly messy hem of her dress. Toru Watanabe patted her twice, and then retracted his hand. "Che," Asahi said with slight dissatisfaction. "They're still waiting for us." "Then I'll look for you tonight. I'll sleep in the boys' bunk tonight." Asahi reached out and covered Toru Watanabe's lower body. "Did you give it all to Kujo?" "Let's be serious, okay, Mai?" "I'm okay." Asahi smiled happily. At this moment, she suddenly blinked and lowered her head. "Aren't you still very energetic?" "Today, the fortune teller said that I'm prone to excessive indulgence. I have to control myself so that I can continue to flow slowly." "I see." Asahi's tone was flat, but the movement of her nodding was a little regretful. As a man, how could he reject his girlfriend when she showed such an expression? But when he thought about how he was almost found out last time, Toru Watanabe chose to remain silent. Being lustful and not in a hurry was the quality of a Tokyo handsome guy, he comforted himself. The two stood separately. In order to prevent any accidents, Toru Watanabe glanced at Asahi's skirt to prevent the skirt from being caught in her underwear due to carelessness. When they returned to the bridge, Aoi Ichiki had already sorted out her emotions. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono. "How is it?" "It's fine for now." "Everyone," he said, "let's go eat dinner together?" "Sorry, I'm a little tired. I want to go back and rest first." Aoi Ichiki bowed slightly and turned to walk towards the bus. "I'll go back with Itsuki classmate. It's too dangerous to go alone." Osamu Kanai explained to Toru Watanabe and the others, and chased after her. "Kyoto's public security isn't that bad, right?" Keisuke Saito muttered to himself, and then whispered to Toru Watanabe. Could it be that this guy still likes Itsuki classmate? You look down on Yuri. How could that be? Don't accuse me. I'll get beaten up. That's Kunai's own business. Let him decide for himself. Toru Watanabe said. Let's go and eat. Okay, what are we eating? Keisuke Saito suddenly realized that there was only Toru Watanabe, Rin Kiyono, and the cold third-year senior left. Ah. I remember, the silver fire dragon is still waiting for me. Bye-bye. Keisuke Saito chased after Osamu Kunai. Toru Watanabe realized that something was wrong. If Saito left, then there was only him and… Yes, there's still the silver fire dragon. Toru Watanabe turned around and said to the two beautiful girls in a serious tone. Sorry, I have a mission. I have to go and suppress the elusive flying dragon. They've been dominating the sky with explosive flame and poison claw for too long. It's time to end it. With that, he was about to chase after Keisuke Saito. Come back. Kiyono classmate, I'm not lying to you. The silver fire dragon is really dangerous. I can't let Saito go alone. Who dominates the sky has nothing to do with me. It doesn't matter whether Keisuke Saito classmate is in danger or not. Watanabe classmate, you still owe me a cup of coffee, right? Old sport, dear Miss Kiyono, it's just a cup of coffee. Can't you do it next time? Toru Watanabe imitated Leonardo's Gatsby. Great Watanabe classmate, please or not? Rin Kiyono was like Hamlet saying to be or not to be. It's just that his acting was too bad. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. He didn't have Hamlet's self-pity. That's not a question, old sport. You know I never refuse you. What kind of coffee do you want to drink? My Asahi's clear eyes were shining in the night. She used her beautiful eyes to size up the two people in front of her. There was a Starbucks a few steps east of the Nihonshu Bridge. This Starbucks was integrated with the Zakiya bookstore next door. They could drink coffee and eat while reading. After eating, the three of them took the bus across from the bookstore to return to the East Mountain Villa. Through the window, they could enjoy the twilight of Kyoto. Looking up, they could vaguely see the black dots of crows circling in the sky not far away. After returning to his residence, Toru Watanabe took a shower and prepared to go see how Osamu Kunai was doing. As soon as he walked into the boys' bunk, he was pulled over by Osamu Kunai. Watanabe, you came at the right time. I was just about to go find you. What's wrong? Osamu Kunai looked around and after confirming that everyone else was playing games and didn't pay attention to them, he whispered, Itsuki classmate and I are going to sneak out tonight. Toru Watanabe looked at him in surprise and said with admiration, You're really something. No, what are you thinking? Osamu Kunai explained with a little red face. Just now on the bus, I said, I'm also very sad today. Itsuki classmate, you're also very sad. Do you want to sneak out to an internet cafe to play games tonight? And she agreed. Internet cafe, playing games. Toru Watanabe chewed on these two words. And then why did you find me? Osamu Kunai said a little embarrassedly. After I came back, I realized that there was a teacher watching, so I couldn't sneak out. It's fine as long as you don't go out. There's no class tomorrow in Tokyo, so you two can play all day. You're doing this on purpose, right? Is this how you ask for help? Osamu Kunai immediately softened his tone. Watanabe, I can only ask you. I don't want to lose face in front of Itsuki classmate. Now that you know that Itsuki classmate likes girls, do you still want to keep in touch with her? To be honest, I'm actually relieved. Osamu Kunai smiled happily. And Toru Watanabe asked curiously, why? Tell me. If Itsuki classmate likes girls, then she won't be with a boy for the rest of her life. I'm very happy. You don't admit that Yuri is love, I'm going to expose you. Stop talking nonsense. Osamu Kunai pulled Toru Watanabe's sleeve. Are you going to help or not? I'm not sure if I can, but I'll do my best. With you it'll definitely work. After agreeing to Osamu Kunai, Toru Watanabe went to find Aona Koizumi. The two female classrooms were in a separate room. Wearing a face mask and a bathrobe, Akiko was watching a TV show with her feet up. Koizumi-sensei, are you in charge of checking the female dormitory? Yes. Aona Koizumi nodded. What's wrong? She was also wearing a loose bathrobe, But her 88 centimeters bust was not to be underestimated. Sensei, tonight a few boys plan to sneak out to go online. Aoi Ichiki from class 3 is going as well. Can you help us cover it up? Online? How can that be? Aona Koizumi frowned and refused. The first year of high school is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. We want to do something different. No, what if something happens? Sensei, you have to believe that I have the highest intelligence in the country, and I have the stamina to kick a football 110 meters away. Only I can cause trouble for others, not to mention that there are a few of us. Aona Koizumi still shook her head. Sensei, Toru Watanabe pulled Aona Koizumi's bathrobe sleeve. Just this once, I'll send you a message every 20 minutes using the English alphabet as the secret code. I promise nothing will happen. Aona Koizumi pulled the collar of her bathrobe that was about to slide down and frowned for a while. Every 15 minutes, you have to take a picture and send it to me. Take a picture? Okay. Toru Watanabe let go of his hand and said with a smile, Sensei Koizumi, I like you too much. If I met you when you were 16, I would definitely be tempted. How can you talk to a sensei like that? Aona Koizumi pulled her collar up to her neck and knocked Toru Watanabe's head. Remember, send me a picture every 15 minutes, okay? Okay. After Toru Watanabe left, Huang Zi's line of sight was on TV. He asked Aona Koizumi, what did that guy do again? He said that the boys' dormitory is going to play mahjong all night. Toru Watanabe returned to the boys' dormitory and told Osamu Kanai, I'm sorry, I have to go with you. Kyoto's public security was pretty good. Osamu Kanai was also a member of the baseball club. Basically, nothing would happen at night, but there was always a possibility. Not only would something happen to the two of them, but it would also implicate the kind and gentle Aona Koizumi. Toru Watanabe had to go with them. It's okay, it's okay. Anyways, classmate Itsuki doesn't like boys. Osamu Kanai happily sent a line to Aoi Ichiki, reminding her not to wear the school uniform. Toru Watanabe also returned to his room and changed into his private clothes. As he was putting on his jacket and walking out of his room, he bumped into Rin Kiyono. She was wearing the school's required sportswear. Toru Watanabe had seen the sportswear worn by the other girls in the school. It was very rustic, but on her it looked very fashionable. It was incredible. Was this the so-called difference in looks? Rin Kiyono crossed her arms and also looked at Toru Watanabe. Which girl are you going on a date with? Osamu Kojing wants to go to an internet cafe with Itsuki Kwai to play games to relieve the depression of being dumped. For safety's sake, I can only go with them. After Toru Watanabe finished his explanation, he asked her, by the way, Arashino-san, do you want to go? Not going. What will happen between two people who have fallen out of love? Isn't it worth observing? If that's the case. Rin Kiyono rubbed her chin and lowered her head in contemplation. Moreover, you've never been to an internet cafe, right? I've never been to an internet cafe. I don't have a good impression of that kind of place. We'll talk about it later. There's always value in trying, right? Toru Watanabe continued to persuade her. Moreover, don't worry, I'm here. If anyone dares to hit on you, I'll definitely break their legs. I don't recommend that. After all, if their legs are fine, they can go to the hospital themselves. Arsene, you're too scary. Change scary to cute. It's good for your legs, to San. Rin Kiyono said to Toru Watanabe with a smile. Cute is obvious, and scary is a new understanding of you after spending so much time with you. These two don't conflict. Its only meaning is that we're getting to know each other better. Enough, that's enough. Qing Yiren sighed and pressed on his throbbing temples. Wait for me, I'll go change. Don't change. You're also very cute in sportswear. Is that so? Rin Kiyono looked at her sportswear. Anyway, you just like all kinds of uniforms, right? There's definitely no such thing. Huh? Chapter 170. Thank you for the matcha. Everyone said it was delicious. I bought it for you, Kumiko. Why should I give it to others? Can't I? Of course. Of course not. You can't read the notes on the base and mathematics. Only you can read them. Oh, okay. Oh, right. After you left, everyone said you were so handsome that they couldn't breathe. You're preparing to go to Tokyo University. Your prank worked. Of course. Looks like I can ask Tokyo University for labor fees. After all, I helped them with their enrollment. No, Tokyo University or something. What are you doing now? Packing your luggage? Or playing games with boys? Of course. On the way to the internet cafe. Of course. Photo. On the streets of Kyoto at night, a beautiful boy is eating octopus balls as if he's afraid of the heat. The white steam can be seen clearly. The octopus ball was golden, and its appearance was round and slightly yellowish. Why are you showing me this in the middle of the night? The internet cafes in Japan could be said to be a typical example of a lonely economy. A small grid, isolated from the rest of the world. Because Kiyono Kami-sama was there, Toru Watanabe chose the one with the best environment. There were 4 types of private rooms. According to the size, they were divided into flat and semi-flat. According to the number of people, they were divided into single, 2, 2, 3, and 4. Which one do you want? Osamu Kunai looked at the menu and asked. Anything is fine, but Kiyono classmate must be in the same room as me. Toru Watanabe said matter-of-factly. Osamu Kunai stared at him with wide eyes. Although Aoi Ichiki still looked pitiful, she also looked at Toru Watanabe. You two wanted to come out, I don't care if something happens, but Kiyono classmate was invited by me, and she's so beautiful, no matter how safe the place is, it will still be dangerous. Although Rin Kiyono was very smart, Toru Watanabe couldn't help but feel scared when he thought about her being alone in an internet cafe in a strange city. Seino Rin glanced at Toru Watanabe and remained silent. He didn't object. Can you not be so honest? Osamu Kunai was speechless. No one wants to hear your inhumane truth. Toru Watanabe clenched his right fist and hit the palm of his left hand. That's right, I'm such an honest person. He looked at Osamu Kunai with gratified eyes. Rin Kiyono sighed and said, that's enough. Hurry up and choose the set meal for 4 people. After making their choices, Osamu Kunai and Aoi Ichiki took the key card and went to the private room upstairs. Unlike the ordinary Japanese internet cafes, which were made up of partitions, the private rooms in this internet cafe were decorated like real rooms. The overall environment was very clean, and the computer equipment was better. There were showers on different floors. Unlike other internet cafes where men and women were mixed, the bathrooms here were divided into male and female bathrooms. The space here was also bigger than ordinary internet cafes. Of course, the price was also much more expensive. Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono strolled around the public area on the first floor of the internet cafe. This is the beverage bar. Toru Watanabe pointed to a row of machines in the corner. There were also bags of black tea and coffee. Everything is free. Rin Kiyono touched her chin and nodded. She looked like an intern visiting the National Space Administration. Opposite the beverage bar, there was a row of small tables. There were a lot of magazines on the tables. These are also free. Rin Kiyono picked up a magazine with Nishino Nanes on the cover. She flipped through 2 pages and put it back in its original position without interest. No books? She asked. You're the only one who came to the internet cafe to read. Toru Watanabe glanced at Nishino Nanes. She was wearing a white turtleneck sweater. But who was Nishino Nanes? After passing the dining table, they walked further into the cafe. Rows of bookshelves came into view. The number of books on the shelves was frightening. These are all manga. They're also free. Toru Watanabe walked between the bookshelves. These are hot-blooded manga. These are young girl manga. These are daily or action manga. Okay, what about over there? Rin Kiyono lifted her chin and pointed to a row of bookshelves that he didn't introduce. Toru Watanabe glanced at it. It was an adult manga. Forget about that. We should go up. Rin Kiyono wasn't interested in manga. She could guess what it was and followed Toru Watanabe upstairs. It was indeed a well-chosen internet cafe. The staircase was decorated with spirals, and the floor was so clean that it reflected light. When they reached the second floor, They saw rooms with closed doors. People who didn't know would think that they were in a hotel. The two of them walked into a private room. Toru Watanabe looked at the exhaust fan and confirmed that it was on. What do you want to play? As he asked Osamu Kanai, he asked Rin Kiyono to sit in the rightmost corner. He sat next to her. He was like a brother who brought his sister to an internet cafe. He would subconsciously protect her. There are 4 of us. It's just right to play PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Osamu Kanai's computer screen was already showing the standby screen of PlayerUnknown's Battleground. In the past, when the 3 of them went to an internet cafe, Osamu Kanai would first watch the new paid movies. Of course, he would only watch the first 10 minutes of the free movies. This time he was very obedient. Kiyono-san, do you want to play together? Toru Watanabe asked. Okay. I'll lend you Seita's account. Toru Watanabe took out his phone. Rin Kiyono frowned slightly. Give me yours. You can use his account. Okay. Toru Watanabe deliberately replied in a helpless tone. He sent a message to Keisuke Saito and clicked on the camera function. He took a picture of the 4 of them and sent it to Aona Koizumi. After doing all this, he moved closer to Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono leaned back slightly and watched his fingers quickly typing on the keyboard. Okay. As soon as Toru Watanabe sat back down, Rin Kiyono immediately saw a female character in a nurse's uniform on the screen. Okay. Toru Watanabe cleared his throat and pointed at a spot on the screen. This is the wardrobe. You can change your clothes. Rin Kiyono glanced at him and clicked on the wardrobe with the mouse. At this time, Keisuke Saito also sent his account password. Toru Watanabe quickly logged in. Keisuke Saito's character was a female character in a pink bunny. Are you done? He turned his head and asked the 3 of them. He glanced over and saw that the female character on Rin Kiyono's screen had already put on the simplest short-sleeved shirt and jeans. Start. Osamu Kanai's tone didn't sound like a person who had just fallen out of love. The 4 accounts were already friends, so they skipped the tedious process of adding friends and directly entered the preparation stage. Toru Watanabe explained the general controls to Rin Kiyono. After only saying it once, Rin Kiyono nodded and said, I remember. Remember is remember, but whether or not you can press the buttons you want when you're thinking about it is another matter. Rin Kiyono didn't refute and controlled the character to do all kinds of actions. The flight path from left to right perfectly divided a Lenger Island into 2 halves. Considering that it was Rin Kiyono's first time playing, they chose to fight in the wild along the coast of K-Town. Classmate Rin Kiyono, I have a buggy here. Osamu Kanai shouted in the sky. I see it too. Aoi Ichiki controlled her character to float over. Toru Watanabe found a motorcycle and adjusted his position while looking at Rin Kiyono, who was still floating in the sky. When Rin Kiyono landed, he stopped right in front of her. After honking twice, Toru Watanabe said, Miss, do you want to go for a ride by the beach? Rin Kiyono made her character stand still and looked around before slowly getting on the motorcycle. Hold on tight. Toru Watanabe turned the motorcycle around and sped towards the beach road. Classmate Rin Kiyono, I have an M4 here. Do you want it? You can take it yourself. It's okay, my M16 is faster than a fully automatic. Okay then, thank you, classmate Guojing. What's an M4? Rin Kiyono switched to the menu and familiarized herself with the various functions of the game. It's a type of gun, the full name is M416. There are others. The motorcycle stopped in front of a housing area. You search the left, I'll search the right. Toru Watanabe said as he jumped off the motorcycle and ran towards the housing area. He quickly searched his own area and did not rush him. He drove the motorcycle over and waited for Rin Kiyono. After a while, Rin Kiyono controlled her character to run out. Toru Watanabe glanced at her. Good lord, a level 3 helmet, a level 2 vest, a level 2 backpack, and a 4x scope on Scar. He then looked at himself, a green level 1 helmet, a level 1 backpack, a Thompson submachine gun, and a revolver on his thigh. When they reached the next resource point, they finally found a level 2 helmet and a level 2 backpack. This circle was not bad. With Yasnaya Pollyanna as the center, The 4 people near K-Town could slowly search. After the second circle, the 4 of them met up. Ha 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 ha, Watanabe, why are you so poor? Osamu Kunai laughed loudly. Aoi Ichiki also laughed. Although her voice was low and she was not very happy, she still laughed. Why don't you let Kiyono give you the equipment? She said with a smile. No need, no need. Why should a newbie serve an experienced player? When playing a game, Toru Watanabe would care if his teammates were happy or not. He would not ask others to give up their equipment, regardless of whether they were newbies or not, unless they had extra equipment or it was an emergency. Rin Kiyono probably knew that Toru Watanabe's equipment was very poor. She smiled and said, I'll give you a gun. You won't be able to perform well even if you use assault rifle. That's fine too. Which one do you want? Which one do you want? Toru Watanabe asked. Hurry up. Rin Kiyono's tone was serious. Then I'll take the AK. After considering the difficulty for newbies, Toru Watanabe chose this gun. After the 2 of them changed their guns, Osamu Kunai said loudly, Let's go go go. Let's kill our way into Yasnaya Pollyanna. Don't rush too far ahead. Aoi Ichiki, who was sitting behind him, reminded him. Don't worry. Osamu Kunai pressed the voice button. The voice of the voice actress Jiang Xiaoshu came. No problem. What's this? Rin Kiyono asked. Voice packs for popular voice actresses. Osamu Kunai said. Watanabe has a lot of them in his account. You can press, stop it, Guojing. So annoying. The female voice actress by the name of Ms. Chi. Her voice filled with a black-bellied aura rang out. So that's how it is. Rin Kiyono nodded in understanding. So that's what you like. Although she didn't look at anyone when she said that, Toru Watanabe felt a chill run down his spine. No, it's mainly because I can't get the voice pack for Kana Hanazawa. I've told you about this before. He explained while driving the motorcycle. Watanabe. Osamu Kunai said. You should give up. Kana Hanazawa is already married. Accept reality and become a fan of Yui Ogura with me. Shut up. I'll wait until she gets a divorce. Don't keep talking, it's making me unhappy. Okay. Toru Watanabe shut up. Rin Kiyono liked this voice actress's disdainful tone. It was very convenient to use. What's the name of the person who made this voice? She asked. Ms. Misaki. Her real name is Kiyono Arisa. Osamu Kunai replied. She has the same surname as Kiyono classmate. Do they know each other? Aoi Ichiki asked. Rin Kiyono thought for a moment. I don't have any relatives named Arisa. Putting aside the voice pack, before the 4 of them even reached Yasnaya Pollyanna, they were already shot at by the people on the roof of the prison building. Should we just rush over? Osamu Kunai said this because Aoi Ichiki was on his motorcycle. If it was any other time, he would have already rushed over. No, we'll stop at the slope in front. Aoi Ichiki said hurriedly. On the way to the prison building, there was a small slope. There was also a small house near the slope. The 4 of them stopped there. Toru Watanabe said to Rin Kiyono. Kiyono classmate, why don't you take this opportunity to fight with them? I'll help you up if you fall. Okay. Rin Kiyono nodded her head decisively. As soon as she poked her head out, she couldn't find anyone. All she could hear was the sound of bullets flying past her ears. Then her HP dropped rapidly. In the end, she knelt on the ground with a thud. Our numbers are a little high, Toru Watanabe said as he pulled her up. It's best if you fire 2 shots and immediately retreat. Are you saying that I'm not as good as you guys? How much did I skip before you came to this conclusion from my words? Rin Kiyono's stubborn temper rose. Just as she stood up and healed herself, she immediately started to fight again. 1 shot. Osamu Kunai shouted from the side. Then he was knocked out as well. As Aoi Ichiki helped him up, he mumbled to himself. There are 4 of them. I can't do anything about it. None of them are a match for me in a one-on-one fight. Yeah. Aoi Ichiki was already used to his stubbornness. Just like that, Toru Watanabe supported Rin Kiyono while Aoi Ichiki supported Osamu Kunai. They started to shoot at Yasnaya Pollyanna. While supporting Osamu Kunai, Aoi Ichiki would also fire 2 shots. From Toru Watanabe's point of view, this kind of fighting style was purely a waste of bullets. When Rin Kiyono realized that it was meaningless to replenish her HP every time she was knocked out, the circle refreshed. They weren't in the circle, but the players from Yasnaya Pollyanna were. Let's drive away, Aoi Ichiki suggested. Okay. After Osamu Kanai agreed, he fired a few more shots. This guy called Dakta has been knocked out 3 times by me. Okay, let's go. Aoi Ichiki was already sitting in the back seat of the buggy. Osamu Kanai immediately sat in the driver's seat. They stayed close to the edge of the circle and prepared to enter Yasnaya Pollyanna. We'll scout the path. Remember to follow the path we took. After that, the 2 of them sped away. Toru Watanabe, who stayed in the same spot, said to Rin Kiyono, "It's about time for us to leave." No. Rin Kiyono decisively refused. I must kill JK20150918 2 more times. Even his name was written down. We'll definitely meet him in the final circle. What if he dies? Toru Watanabe had no choice but to say, "Okay, I'll wait for you." Rin Kiyono was very talented in the game. In just a short while, her marksmanship was already very good. At least from their current position, they were already shooting at the top of Yasnaya Pollyanna's prison building. However, without Osamu Kanai and Aoi Ichiki's firepower, her revenge journey was once again difficult. While taking down JK20150918, she was also constantly being taken down by the opponent's teammates. With only the 2 of them left, Toru Watanabe did not dare to attack even if he wanted to. Osamu Kanai and Aoi Ichiki, under the cover of Rin Kiyono's firepower, safely circled around Yasnaya Pollyanna and entered the city from the garage. Kiyono, it's time to go. Just one more time. Miss Kiyono, it's really time to go. Isn't it the same if you kill his teammates? You go first. I'm going to die here today. Sister, the circle is here. Okay. Phew. Rin Kiyono let out a long sigh. We can go now. Toru Watanabe looked at the circle that had no other choice but to charge straight into Yasnaya Pollyanna. I can only try. He threw out the smoke grenade in his backpack. Before the smoke rose, Toru Watanabe raised his hand and knocked out a guy. He did not care that he had lost half of his health. He rode on his motorcycle and carried Rin Kiyono straight to the prison building. In an instant, bullets rained down like raindrops. The bullets hit the grass, the motorcycle, and the ears. It was quite exciting. After exiting the smoke grenade, just as they were about to reach the prison building's wall, Toru Watanabe, who was already on the verge of death, was knocked out. Don't revive me. Go to the corner. Toru Watanabe shouted at Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono ran to the corner. As Toru Watanabe wiggled his butt and crawled towards her, she healed herself. Watanabe, are you okay? Osamu Kanai shouted. We can't get through. There's someone in the middle. I'm fine. Don't come over. Take care of yourselves. Even though they were in the same private room, both of them were shouting loudly. Fortunately, this was not an ordinary Japanese internet cafe. The private room was sealed and soundproof. You scared me to death. Toru Watanabe finally crawled to the corner safely. Watanabe classmate also has times when he's scared? Rin Kiyono mocked as she pressed the rescue button. I'm not afraid of death. I'm just afraid that I won't be able to see Kiyono classmate again. So disgusting. I'm going to throw up. Osamu Kanai's voice interrupted. Aoi Ichiki smiled and said, in such a dangerous situation, Koen Watanabe is willing to stay with Kiyono classmate. I think it's good. Yes. I think it's good too. Osamu Kanai nodded. Teammates should live and die together. With your personality that only knows how to kill, who would dare to live with you? Before Toru Watanabe could finish his words, he who was agile and had excellent hearing, clearly heard the sound of a thud. He hurriedly shouted, There's thunder. Kiyono, run. Rin Kiyono ignored him and stared at the 4 seconds left on the rescue timer. It's not an instant bomb. Run. 3 to boom. For a moment, They couldn't hear anything other than the sound of thunder. The computer screen seemed to be shaking. You scared me to death. Toru Watanabe hurriedly healed himself. Qing Yilin opened his backpack and healed himself, which had lost almost half of his health. How do you know you won't die from the explosion? Toru Watanabe squatted up and down, twisting his body as he drank an energy drink. I don't know. Rin Kiyono's tone was a little excited. Although this game was boring, it was indeed exciting at critical moments. If you don't know, why don't you leave? Do I need to listen to your orders? Rin Kiyono said unhappily. You're free to do as you please. At this moment, a familiar voice came from the prison building. The two idiots downstairs, come up if you dare. They were from the same hometown. The two teary-eyed Toru Watanabe turned on all his microphones. The four people upstairs have no parents. Come down if you dare. Come up if you dare. I'll beat you to death. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. I rushed into the planes and with your shooting skills? Ha. F***ck your mother. The one upstairs had a very strong self-esteem and temper. Tell me your address if you dare. I'll hack you to death. Toru Watanabe replied loudly. Home. Shanghai Nanjing Road, Suzhou Bridge, Beijing Street, Shengshe District, Unit 1, 201. If you don't come, you're my grandson. Just you wait. F***ck. Toru Watanabe laughed and said to Rin Kiyono, this idiot. Rin Kiyono had an amused expression and lectured, don't curse. Then let him go. Watanabe, what did you say just now? Osamu Kunai asked. I met someone from the same hometown. My dialect, you guys don't understand. The dialect of Iwate Prefecture, it sounds a bit like Chinese, Aoyachiki said. Yeah, it does sound like it. Bang. A gunshot was heard. Toru Watanabe was shocked and thought that it was from upstairs. Kiyono-san, what are you doing? Accidentally. While waiting for the circle to shrink, Toru Watanabe took out his phone, took a selfie, and sent it to Aona Koizumi. As the circle shrank, Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito were the first to be killed because they entered the circle. Toru Watanabe and Aoi Ichiki were hiding in the corner, which had always been a safe zone. With the people upstairs helping to look after Yasnaya Pollyanna, it became the safest place for a while. Unfortunately, the last circle was at the prison building, and the two of them had to risk their lives to rush in. Toru Watanabe listened carefully to the footsteps and confirmed the approximate location. There are two of them at the stairs, he said to Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono frowned. How strong are you? It's not a problem for me to kill all of them alone. Okay, you go up. No, I'm talking about the reality. Toru Watanabe said, the game has to follow the rules. If I rush up like this, I can only kill two at most. Rin Kiyono fell into deep thought. No one knew if he was thinking about whether he could kill the other two, or if he was thinking about other tactics. As time went on, Toru Watanabe killed 3 people who ran into the prison building from Yasnaya Pollyanna. Initially, he wanted to add some throwables from these people. Unfortunately, the people who were able to make it here had already run out of ammo. They didn't even have a single stun grenade. In the end, only the 4 people upstairs and Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono were left. The enemies were at the stairs on the 2nd floor, and they were guarding the 1st floor. Kiyono classmate is too strong. She entered the final circle on her first time playing. Aoi Ichiki said in admiration. The controls are simple. Most of the time was wasted on the shooting just now. There's nothing to boast about. Rin Kiyono calmly analyzed the situation. She's already very strong. This isn't a newbie account. Osamu Kunai added. Isn't that right, Watanabe? For normal people, she's very strong. But for Kiyono classmate, this level of skill is only natural. But just now, she stood on the grenade to save me. That's really enough. Rin Kiyono interrupted Toru Watanabe. What we should do now is to think of a way to win the match. As they were talking, the people upstairs suddenly fired at the stairs. What are they doing? Rin Kiyono frowned. They've lost their patience, or are they provoking? Before she could finish, Toru Watanabe suddenly turned around and fired. There were actually 2 people who jumped down under the cover of the gunshots, trying to catch the two of them off guard. Caught off guard, they knocked out one person and fired 2 more shots at the other person. Toru Watanabe was knocked out as well. Rin Kiyono reacted quickly and fired 2 more shots, knocking out the other person as well. After knocking out the other person, she immediately squatted down to revive Toru Watanabe. "Don't worry about me. Watch the stairs." Toru Watanabe quickly shouted and turned on all the voice chat. Sure enough, someone was screaming, "One down! One down! They're pulling people! They're pulling people!" The people upstairs hesitated for a moment before rushing down. "They're here!" Toru Watanabe shouted to remind Rin Kiyono. However, Rin Kiyono ignored him and continued to save him. This made Toru Watanabe very anxious. "Look at the stairs. Sister. Don't worry about me." Chapter 171. Arrived safely. Aona Koizumi clicked on the photo. It was a selfie of Toru Watanabe. After confirming that the background was really East Mountain Villa, she finally couldn't hold back her sleepiness and fell asleep. Her cell phone gradually slid to the ground with a dull thud. "Aona, what dropped?" Huangzi shouted. Seeing that Aona Koizumi didn't respond, she got up and walked over. "Are you asleep?" She picked up her cell phone as she spoke. The screen hadn't turned off yet, and Toru Watanabe's face was zoomed in on it. "This brat, he doesn't have any flaws even after zooming in." Huangzi kept zooming in on every part of his face with the thought that she had to find his flaws. While she was staring at his nose, desperately trying to find any flaws, she suddenly realized something. Aona fell asleep while looking at this photo. She quickly zoomed in on the photo. It was a chat with Toru Watanabe online. Just as she was about to scroll through the chat, she paused. The two of them grew up together and became close since high school. It's been 9 years since then. But does this give me the right to casually look at Aona's chat history? Suppressing her strong curiosity, Huangzi quietly put the cell phone back, slipped back into bed, and took out her own cell phone. "Miyuki, let me tell you something important." November 6th, Friday. No matter how bustling the city was, it would still be as silent as a ruin at dawn. Toru Watanabe ran on the Bluestone Road in Saniaka. A thin layer of white floated in the transparent air. Soon, it would be the day when autumn would completely turn into autumn. After returning to East Mountain Villa, he slowly took a shower, changed his clothes, and walked to the dining hall. He originally thought that no one would be there, but in the end, there were still students eating in 2s and 3s. The yawning Rin Kiyono was also among them. Yesterday, it was Yuji and Inagawa. At night, he even dragged her to an internet cafe. It was expected that she would be too tired to get up in the morning. Toru Watanabe walked to the corner where Rin Kiyono was, and sat down across from her. "Good morning, Kiyono-san." "Good morning." There was an unconcealable sleepiness in her greeting. "I'm starting." After Rin Kiyono finished speaking, she poked the half-boiled egg with her chopsticks. The egg yolk flowed out of the membrane and spread on the egg white. As a familiar face, Toru Watanabe could not turn a blind eye to such a scene. "Kiyono classmate, has anyone ever told you that you're an overly serious person?" Rin Kiyono swallowed the egg in her mouth and drank a mouthful of warm miso soup. After doing all this, she looked up at Toru Watanabe. "What do you want now? What do you mean by, what do you want to do again?" "Did I do anything? I just want to discuss with you on this beautiful morning. If you have something to say, just say it." Rin Kiyono interrupted him rudely. Tactful and gentle girls were adorable, and a straightforward personality wasn't annoying either. "It's like this." Toru Watanabe paused for a moment. "Do you want to try the hard-boiled egg?" Rin Kiyono stared at Toru Watanabe expressionlessly for a long time. Just when Toru Watanabe thought that he unintentionally added a point of charm to himself after falling asleep last night, Rin Kiyono spoke. "I see." Her expression was as if she had solved a math problem before Toru Watanabe, and her tone was full of condescension. "Are you a familiar face?" "What does it have to do with being a familiar face?" "I just want you, Kiyono classmate, to try different things. There are all kinds of things in this world." "Lies." "It's a lie, but I still want you to try it." Toru Watanabe used the chopsticks that he didn't have time to use to pick up the uneaten hard-boiled egg and put it into Rin Seno's bowl. Rin Kiyono glanced at the egg. I don't care about other things, but I won't back down on this. She picked up the hard-boiled egg with her chopsticks and put it back into Toru Watanabe's bowl. It's just a taste, is it okay? Toru Watanabe put the egg back into her bowl. If it's just a normal taste, of course it's okay. Rin Kiyono returned the egg to him again. A familiar face sent me a hard-boiled egg. This is a provocation, a war. Toru Watanabe put down his chopsticks and stared at Rin Kiyono expressionlessly. After a while he said, "You're not giving me face? Forcing a friend who likes half-boiled eggs to eat a hard-boiled egg. Is this your so-called face?" Rin Kiyono's gaze was cold and full of reproach. The two of them stared at each other without moving for a long time. Toru Watanabe's eyes moved, and Rin Seno couldn't hold it in any longer. He turned his face away and laughed. Toru Watanabe also laughed. Now that I think about it, even though we've argued many times, we've never really argued before. Oh, Watanabe-san is quite confident. Do you think you can out-argue me? You want to win even over this. Do you have a problem with that? Nothing, I just feel that Kiyono-san's stubbornness is cute. I really want to touch your leg. I wonder what it'll feel like. Watanabe-san. Yes. Can you please stay away from me? I can't stand you anymore. Rin Kiyono didn't hide her extreme disgust. Toru Watanabe took a bite of the hard-boiled egg with a thoughtful expression. Don't you think it's strange? He said. If you say that I'm obsessed with legs, then so be it. But I'm not interested in other people's legs at all. When I walk on the road, I don't look at girls' legs. Only you, Kiyono-san, I never get tired of looking at them. What do you think about this? Because I'm the most beautiful. Rin Kiyono said the truth half-heartedly. I see, the answer is so simple. Usually I'm the only one thinking. The more I think about it, the stranger it gets. It even feels inconceivable. By the way, does this count as self-observation? Self-observation. The girl sitting across from him repeated these words with a hopeless helplessness. After finishing their last breakfast in Kyoto, the Kanagawa High School students boarded the bus to Kyoto Station. The Silver Fire Dragon is already a defeated opponent. We will continue our great journey towards the Golden Fire Dragon. Osamu Kunai raised his arm and loudly declared his ambition. Last night I tried it by myself. I was so angry that I almost deleted the game. Your uncle Kunai is here. Leave everything to me. Toru Watanabe didn't understand at all. How did a crusade against monsters in a game become a great journey? No matter what, it should at least be something like making Rin Kiyono a complete friend. Only then would it be considered great, right? While opening the game, Toru Watanabe looked out of the window. The sky was scattered with thin clouds, like white cotton candy that had been pulled into wisps. The bus to Kyoto Station was running under such a sky. While the Golden Fire Dragon was showing its might and the four of them were exhausted and falling, the bus arrived at Kyoto Station. Everyone has 20 minutes to move freely. You can go to the souvenir shop if you want, but remember, you can't leave the station. Do you hear me? Yes. The youthful and lively voice attracted the envious, curious, and nostalgic gazes of the passers-by. Toru Watanabe didn't go to the souvenir shop. Last night, before going to bed, he had a video call with Miki Kujo. She clearly rejected his suggestion to bring souvenirs. The milady's original words were, "What can you buy with the little money you have?" Even though she said this, she was still wearing the cheap ring that Toru Watanabe gave her. According to the calculation that 1 point could be exchanged for 100 yen, 1,000 points was only 100,000 yen. For Miki Kujo, if she could earn 10 yen for every step she took, she would be too lazy to move. Apart from her, no one else in Tokyo asked Toru Watanabe to bring souvenirs. Since he didn't need to buy anything, he had nothing to do. He wandered around the station, and unknowingly came to the hall of the station concert. The 4,000 pieces of glass were still hanging high in the dome. The first time he came to Kyoto, the system's task was to get Lena's signature. Lena was indeed outstanding in all aspects to be chosen by the system. She had a beautiful appearance, a large chest, a maverick personality, and a small extraordinary ability. But Toru Watanabe wasn't interested in her. On the contrary, Kumiko really wanted to be friends with her. He really wanted to see Kumiko again. He was about to leave Kyoto and didn't know when they would meet again. This thought suddenly popped up in his mind. It was 9:30 in the morning, and the second class had just begun. What class was she in? Kamigawa's second class on Friday was mathematics. Would Kitayoshi's class also be mathematics? Would she scratch her head in annoyance? Or would she seriously copy down the knowledge on the blackboard without missing a word? Watanabe, it's time to gather. Aona Koizumi's gentle voice brought him back to reality. Coming. Tetsumasa Watanabe was about to walk over to join them when the phone in the right pocket of his trousers rang. Where are you? Kyoto Station. Don't tell me you're here to send me off. How is that possible? I secretly sent you a message during class. I was standing at the station concert's performance venue and suddenly missed you. Why did you miss me? I don't have any classes today. It'll be Saturday and Sunday when I get back, so I want to know, what class are you in now? Looking at the series of weird geisha emojis, Toru Watanabe smiled and put away his phone. That was the end of the first year of high school. After the Saturday and Sunday after the trip, he had nothing to do. Others had to go to cram school to catch up on the homework they recently missed, but Toru Watanabe would read for a while before going to bed, so he didn't have to work so hard. He and Miki Kujo went to Aoyama and Ginza to buy clothes, and was led to a restaurant in Ginza to eat horse meat sashimi. Horse meat sashimi. If he were to write a biography in the future, Toru Watanabe would definitely write about these 2 days. November 9th, Monday. It was another sunny autumn day. Toru Watanabe came back from his run. Miki Kujo was still sleeping. I'm leaving. Okay. Kujio Miyoshi replied in a daze. He looked at her sleeping face. Her sleeping posture was so peaceful, and her soft and cute expression was the complete opposite of when she was awake. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but kiss her. Miki Kujo also habitually responded by sticking out her warm and soft tongue. The two kissed for a while. Then she pushed Toru Watanabe away in disgust. She muttered, "It smells like toothpaste," as she turned her back to him, and soon she was breathing steadily. In fact, Toru Watanabe had already eaten breakfast, and the toothpaste smell should have been gone by now. It was the same with the ice cream last time. Did Miki Kujo have the taste to become a top gourmet? After leaving Chiyoda, Toru Watanabe got off the tram and walked on the uphill road to school. He felt like a long time had passed. In the morning class meeting, Aona Koizumi changed it to an English test. In her words, it was to let everyone know what kind of state they were in, and whether they should stop thinking and prepare to study. There were only a few questions, one for each type of question. Toru Watanabe spent 10 minutes to solve the questions, and took out Reminiscences of the Past from the drawer, a novel by the French novelist Marcel Proust. Aona Koizumi walked to Toru Watanabe's side, and picked up the test paper he put on the corner of the table. She looked at the answers one by one, and finally put the test paper back on the table and pressed it with an eraser. Looking around the classroom, all the students were seriously solving the questions. This reading comprehension test was very difficult, and she was the one who set the questions. After looking around, she looked at the book in Toru Watanabe's hand in boredom. Toru Watanabe was analyzing one of the sentences in the novel. Rather than saying that he was reading the novel, it was better to say that he was studying it. Aona Koizumi even thought of asking Toru Watanabe not to do anything else during the English test. It's not that she didn't allow it, but he was working too hard. At least take a break during the test. After the bell rang, the student in front, please take the test paper. Some students who didn't have time to finish the test cried out. After Aona Koizumi took the test paper and left, Keisuke Saito immediately came over. Watanabe, the third reading comprehension test, the main idea of the essay, what did you choose? See the past of Cressy and Lashel. I'm so angry. Keisuke Saito regretfully held his head. I wanted to choose this at first, but I changed it to D, the memory of Cressy and Francois. I also chose D. Sitting in front of Toru Watanabe, Ikeda Kazumi, who could dance Cherry Maru, turned around and joined the conversation. You too, Osamu Kunai angrily said. Don't believe in authority. Why is Toru Watanabe's answer always right? Makes sense. Toru Watanabe nodded in agreement. Koizumi, you also chose D? Ikeda Kazumi curiously asked. Sihihi. You disgusting. Ikeda Kazumi leaned back and looked at Osamu Kunai as if she couldn't stand it. This question is obviously C. Although the whole essay is about the conversation between Cressy and Francois, it's mainly about the past of Cressy and Lashel. You should have a limit to your carelessness. After Osamu Kunai proudly analyzed the solution to the question, everyone's topic returned to daily life. Koen Watanabe, Ikeda Kazumi snickered. How was Kyoto? You guys colluded, right? Toru Watanabe remembered that girls took turns to confess to him and looked at her helplessly. They begged me. What can I do? By the way, during the bonfire party, will you dance with Kujo-san? Bonfire party? Toru Watanabe asked doubtfully. Osamu Kunai explained. It's a winter camping event in December, and there will be a bonfire party on the last day. It is said that during the final song, the two dancers will meet. Keisuke Saito added. Ito-san's lesson is still vivid in my mind, and you still dare to hold a bonfire party? Toru Watanabe said. Ito-san? Ikeda Kazumi looked at the girl surnamed Ito-san in the class. It's not Ito-san from our class. Keisuke Saito said with a smile. It's the male protagonist of an anime called Day on Campus. Because there were many girls who wanted to dance with him at the bonfire party, his head was cut off in the end. The plot was roughly like this, but his head was not directly related to the bonfire party. Ah, isn't this Koen Watanabe's future? Ikeda Kazumi pointed at Toru Watanabe with a surprised expression. You did it on purpose, right? And Ikeda Kazumi snickered and nodded. Didn't you just finish your study trip? How come there's another activity? Why didn't Koizumi-sensei say anything? Toru Watanabe doubtfully asked. There were too many activities in Japan's schools, almost every month. This is a common occurrence. Ikeda Kazumi played with her ponytail. Last year it was spring camping, and this year it will definitely be winter camping. And the time will probably be December. Isn't that still early? Reminiscing the past, Watanabe. Osamu Kunai heavily patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder. He completely couldn't hear what he was saying. Toru Watanabe looked at his excited expression and suspiciously looked at him. You wouldn't be planning to invite a Toki classmate to dance, right? Koizumi likes a Toki? Ikeda Kazumi was surprised. How is that possible? Don't talk nonsense. Osamu Kunai exaggeratedly rejected. Oh right, speaking of camping, have you guys watched Swaying Camping? Oren-chan is so cute. Toru Watanabe stood up and pressed Osamu Kunai down on the desk at lightning speed. You don't deserve to be Oren-chan. I'm talking about Shima Rin, not Kiyono classmate. Osamu Kunai quickly explained. Shima Rin is also mine. Yours is yours, then I'll choose Nadeshiko. Nadeshiko has already registered with me. I'll fight you. Ouch ouch ouch. Stop. I'll choose Inusama. Osamu Kunai wailed. No, you can only choose Bamboo Wheel. You're crazy. Bamboo Wheel is a dog. Watanabe. Don't go too far. Keisuke Saito and Ikeda Kazumi laughed out loud, and the other students of Class 4 kept glancing at them. Outside the classroom, the sky was white and the clouds were white. It was a brief moment of comfort in the busy school life. Chapter 172. At 3:30, the bell rang for the end of class. Everyone, remember to go back and summarize. Studying after the test papers are handed out is very important. Yes, Seiji packed up his textbooks and put his pencil and eraser back into his pencil case. Watanabe, Koi and I are on duty today. You can go first, no need to wait for us. Okay. Toru Watanabe closed his backpack, put his chair under his desk, and walked out of the classroom. A boy rushed out of the front door of Class 3, followed by an angry girl holding a blackboard eraser. This couple, it seems like they have a running game every day after school? You two should go get married. Don't leave chalk all over the hallway. Toru Watanabe waved his right hand in front of his nose. The chalk was pushed away like water, but it was quickly filled back up. In just a few moments, Toru Watanabe saw Rin Kiyono come out of Class 1 and quickly disappear down the hallway. Humph, the tool that opened the door. Cough, cough. Toru Watanabe hurriedly left the area covered by the chalk dust. He went up to the 5th floor of the school building and walked down the hallway leading to the club building. He heard the sound of instruments being practiced in the music classroom on the 3rd floor. Horns. This sound must belong to Aizawa. He's improved a lot. Toru Watanabe reminisced about the days when he and Aizawa competed for the title of Lena's #1 fan. He entered the human observation department that he hadn't seen for 7 days. The sun was setting in the west. A girl was sitting by the window reading a book. Toru Watanabe sat down in his seat, took out Memories of Time Like Water, and glanced at the empty sofa. Miki Kujo didn't show up for the entire day. I boiled some water. If you want to drink tea, you can make it yourself. Rin Kiyono looked at the book in her hand. You're not going to help me? This is the only employee benefit, and it's also the reason why I insist on coming to the club every day. You can't be too capitalist, Kiyono-san. I've always been the descendant of a capitalist. On the other hand, you Watanabe-san were born in a peasant family, yet you don't have the qualities of being simple, introverted and honest. Rin Kiyono's gaze swept across the hardcover book line by line. What prejudice do you have against farmers? You're really... Rin Kiyono sighed. She put down the book and got up to make Toru Watanabe a cup of the bitterest green tea, saying, I'm biased against you. Thank you. In addition, prejudice means that you look at a problem with subjective emotions. So Kiyono-san. Toru Watanabe picked up his tea and gently blew on it. What kind of subjective feelings do you have towards me? Is it love? Rin Kiyono returned to her seat. I think you're a person with an excessive sense of self. That's my prejudice against you. You mean I'm confident? Toru Watanabe pointed at her with his teacup and said with a smile, I'm not straightforward, but since you're so beautiful, can you keep quiet? Can't you see that I'm reading? If you don't even know this basic etiquette, I suggest you. Toru Watanabe frowned and swallowed the tea with difficulty. Why is it so bitter? Rin Kiyono looked at his slightly distorted face and the cold expression behind the book, and laughed. The conversation between the two started casually, and ended abruptly. They both continued to read their books seriously. As the sun gradually darkened, Toru Watanabe was trying to figure out how to translate the phrase, when a person sleeps, he keeps the wheels of time around him. Year after year, the stars of heaven and earth, in perfect order French. When there was a crisp knock on the door, Rin Kiyono stopped flipping the pages and put a bookmark on it. Come in. Sorry to disturb you. Aoi Ichiki walked in. Toru Watanabe glanced at her, then looked away and continued to rack his brains over the complicated French sentences. Aoi Ichiki sat in front of Rin Kiyono and put a stack of papers between them. Kiyono-san, this is the report I promised to give you. Thank you. Rin Kiyono poured her a cup of black tea. No, I should be the one thanking you. You've helped me so much. Rin Kiyono nodded but didn't reach out to take the report. Instead, she crossed her arms and asked, Yumiki-san, if you were to go back to the time before your study trip, what would you do? Aoi Ichiki was silent for a long time, seriously considering this question. I would probably still confess. She smiled bitterly. I've liked Minato for so long. If I don't do something, my life won't be able to continue. I understand. Rin Kiyono nodded. Then, her expression suddenly relaxed. Although it still couldn't be considered gentle, it was enough to make people feel at ease. You've already tried your best, Yumiki-san, she said softly. Why are you saying this, haha? Aoi Ichiki scratched her head embarrassedly, but her voice wasn't happy, and it was filled with loneliness. After Aoi Ichiki left, Rin Kiyono picked up the report and began to read it page by page. After reading for a while, she put the report down, closed her eyes, and rubbed her forehead tiredly. What's wrong? Toru Watanabe finally finished translating and asked. struggle, wavering, anticipation, pain, hesitation, and a large psychological description, as well as fantasizing about success and failure. It's a detailed report, but I can't deal with this kind of monologue that's similar to a love letter. You reap what you sow. Toru Watanabe mocked her mercilessly. It's your fault for taking on this mission. Rin Kiyono opened her eyes and took out the few reports that she had finished reading. You read them for me too, the girl said in a fierce tone. Why should I? You want to know the power of the minister. If it weren't for the fact that she was beautiful and refined, with a slim waist and beautiful legs, as well as the fact that she was his most important friend, and was indeed the head of the Human Observation Department, Toru Watanabe would have pinched her proud little face and forced down the bitter tea in front of him that he didn't want to drink a second sip. Yeah, that's right, so what if he confesses? Senpai is going to university, and there are countless outstanding boys and girls there. I only hope that Senpai can live happily in the future. But what if he succeeds? Wearing home clothes with Senpai to go grocery shopping with Senpai, squeezing on the narrow kitchen counter to make breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and sleeping in Senpai's arms at night. In the future, when we're financially independent, we can consider moving to a bigger house. No, a smaller one is better. That way we can always lean on Senpai. Koei, don't let your imagination run wild. This is just your wishful thinking. How could Senpai fall in love with someone like you? Osamu Tezuji once said in his book Human Disqualification, he came from the sea of people, only to give me empty joy. But, Osamu Tezuji also said, try to avoid the pain, but you miss all the joy. So even if you're destined to fail, suffer, and regret, you still have to try, right? In Setting Sun, Osamu Tezuji also wrote, we were born for love and revolution. Toru Watanabe leaned back in his chair and looked out the window weakly. The skyscrapers in Shinjuku that served as the backdrop suddenly had a charm that it didn't have before, compared to the Aoi Ichiki love story in his hand. Tear up the flyer? He said. Rin Kiyono sighed and nodded reluctantly. After school, Toru Watanabe threw the faded flyer with the words, to help you achieve love. If you need it, please come to the Human Observation Department on the 5th floor, into the trash can. As for the Aoi Ichiki love story, it was placed on the Human Observation Department's bookshelf. Other than Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe, no one else would look at it due to the Human Observation Department's necessity. After that day, no one else visited the Human Observation Department. Time seemed to have returned to spring, the season when no one disturbed them. On Friday, the cold wind blew across the field, and the leaves of the beech trees in the courtyard covered the flower beds. Masahi suddenly asked Toru Watanabe out for coffee on Saturday. The next day, November 14th, Saturday. It rained for a few days this week, but today it began to clear up, and the temperature rose slightly. He wore a white short-sleeved casual jacket, red with black cuffs. It was dry and cool. He wore a black diving watch on his wrist, and navy khaki pants on his lower body. Paired with Toru Watanabe's handsome and clean white face, he looked like an idol or an aristocrat. Of course, these were all Miki Kujo's preferences. Toru Watanabe didn't have the right to say anything, nor did he have the desire to say anything. The date was at a coffee shop near the Gunzu Art Museum in Omotesando. The walls of the coffee shop were covered with vines, like a cabin in the forest. Toru Watanabe sat at a white table outside the door, with a large parasol above his head, blocking the falling maple leaves. What do you need? A waitress who worked part-time as a university student came over. A cup. Toru Watanabe studied the menu. The waitress's gaze couldn't help but fall on the side of his face as he was deep in thought. A cup of Girimazaro. Toru Watanabe returned the menu to the waitress. Thank you. Okay. The waitress came back to her senses, quickly wrote something, and said in a gentle tone, "It'll be done soon." She turned around and entered the coffee shop. Before Masahi arrived, Toru Watanabe sat alone, leisurely drinking Girimazaro. At the table next to him, there were 3 female high school students. 2 of them were looking at each other's nails, while the other was adding sugar to her coffee. Opposite him, by a bed of blooming chrysanthemums, a couple was whispering to each other, with shopping bags from Uniqlo at their feet. At the entrance of the Gunzu Art Museum, there was an exhibition notice for Drawing Monogatari. Playing cards from Dynasty Monogatari to Ogamakusa. The sky was clear, and there was a steady breeze. Toru Watanabe's right hand was on the table, and his index finger was gently stroking his lower lip. He turned his face slightly, and his eyes were casually looking at the passers-by. His every move was the style of a beautiful boy. Any girl, as long as they sat across from him, would be mesmerized. The originally empty entrance of the coffee shop was gradually filled with half of the people. The 3 female high school students looked at him from time to time, whispering and joking with each other. At this moment, a young girl in a white dress walked towards them on the sunny street. The sound of her slender legs pacing on the floor, and the short skirt that faintly reached her knees, her slender figure could be seen even through the clothes. Have you been waiting for a long time? I don't hate waiting for people. The waitress came over, and Mayasahi didn't take the menu. She looked at Toru Watanabe and said, "Please give me a cup of the same as his." "Okay, please wait a moment." Toru Watanabe looked at Mayasahi. Different from wearing the school uniform, she had changed into private clothes. She, who was almost 18 years old, vaguely showed a mature charm, looking natural and elegant. Her eyes were still crystal clear, making people's hearts beat faster. "I'm wearing light pink today, with beautiful lace." "My-san, you don't have to report everything to me." Mayasahi tilted her head slightly and looked at him in confusion. "You don't like it? Light pink lace, it should be very beautiful." Toru Watanabe took a sip of coffee. Mayasahi's gaze swept across his lips on the cup, and slid over his rolling Adam's apple. When Toru Watanabe put down the coffee, she naturally reached out and took a sip. Fortunately, Miki Kujo no longer sent people to follow him after returning from Kyoto. "Senpai Mai, why did you ask me out today?" Mayasahi put down the coffee cup and stroked the cup with her fingers. "I'm about to graduate, and I want to spend more time with Toru." Toru Watanabe looked at her, somewhat helpless. "Senpai, if possible, I also want to spend more time with you, but it's for your own good. Besides, Miki is my girlfriend. The right choice is for us to meet less." "I understand." Mayasahi was expressionless as she replied indifferently. The waitress brought the coffee and looked at the cup in front of Mayasahi in confusion. Finally, she hesitated and put the new coffee in front of Toru Watanabe. "Thank you." Toru Watanabe thanked her and took a sip. Medium roasted, with a sweet and light sour taste, with a unique cocoa fruit aroma, and a strong mellow taste. Toru Watanabe couldn't taste any of these things written on the menu. After the waitress left, Mayasahi said, "But you won't leave me, right?" "Of course, I promise you." Toru Watanabe put down the coffee and said with a smile, "Senpai, you won't allow me to leave you, right?" "If Toru is willing, I'll be very happy." "That's scary." "Yes." Mayasahi nodded and didn't deny it. "Toru, where do you live now?" "Where do you live?" "Why? I moved out of the university to live alone. I want to be closer to Toru." Toru Watanabe sat up straight and chose his words carefully. "My senpai, let's make a deal that we can't be found out by Miki." "Yes." "Then what about you? I happen to live above you," Mayasahi said in a matter-of-fact tone. Toru Watanabe almost believed it, thinking that the two of them really happened to live close to each other. Toru Watanabe had already deeply experienced her determination. Miki Kujo's danger of killing people couldn't be stopped. Since persuasion was useless, they could only think of a way together. "Well, senpai, you can go to Shinano to look for a house. I'm renting a house now and I'll return it at the end of the year. I'll go to your place then." "Go to my place? Live together?" "Of course not. What are you thinking?" Mayasahi smiled like a successful prank. She looked very cute. Perhaps Toru Watanabe was the only one who had seen her expression. "Then I'll wait for Toru." "Okay." Toru Watanabe also smiled and nodded. Mayasahi put down the coffee that she had already drunk, naturally took Toru Watanabe's cup, and quietly drank. Toru Watanabe, who had resumed his lazy sitting posture, looked at her delicate face, and her small white ears under her black hair. "By the way, senpai," he remembered something, Will the third years participate in the winter camping? No, because most of them have to prepare for the entrance exam. I really want to dance with Toru. Senpai, you're also a prospective Tokyo University student. How could you believe that kind of rumor? Toru Watanabe said. If he really danced with other girls, in a bonfire party full of people, Toru Watanabe suspected that he would be made into a specimen by Miki Kujo. He didn't know if the formalin used by the rich would smell better. Maybe it would even be drinkable. But as a specimen, would he need to drink anything? For girls, no matter how high their education, they will always like romantic things. That's true. Toru Watanabe nodded. The third years are not good at all. My Asahi maintained her posture of holding the coffee, and her flat tone had a trace of complaint. What's wrong? Is it hard to study? There are only cultural festivals, sports festivals, and study trips. I also want to participate in more activities with Toru. There are enough activities. Toru Watanabe thought of his fellow villagers who were about to come out of their backsides. Not his fellow villagers from Iwate Prefecture, but his fellow villagers from China. His fellow countrymen in Iwate Prefecture were living a much more comfortable life. The 5 of them could do whatever they wanted in school. They could wander around the fields all day long, and no one would criticize them. During the busy farming season, they didn't even go to class. Instead, they would go to the teacher's house to help plant rice, run the water, catch crabs, and so on. Toru Watanabe looked to the north, in the direction of Iwate Prefecture. November was almost over. After December, he would take advantage of the winter holidays to go back to his hometown for the new year. Chapter 173. After finishing their coffee, the 2 of them walked around the Gunzu Art Museum. What left the deepest impression on Toru Watanabe was an exquisite screen with a man and woman on it. The 2 of them were disheveled on a floating boat. This reminded him of Miki Kujo. On the night of the dance party, he was also on the boat, and her clothes were disheveled. That burgundy gown and corset dress was truly beautiful. Apart from this Dynasty Monogatari drawing, Toru Watanabe walked around. Although it was exquisite, he didn't feel any artistic aura from it. After all, his art degree was only a C, so he couldn't be expected to have any accomplishments in this area. On Sunday, they went to Kamibocho to visit a second-hand bookstore, and spent the night at Miki Kujo's place. On Monday, November 16th, Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo went to school together. This is our first time together, right? It's rare. Toru Watanabe commented. In the car, Miki Kujo was sitting across from him, resting with her eyes closed. After being together for a long time, even the rarest things will happen, she said casually. Yeah. Toru Watanabe nodded, indicating that she had a point. However, Miki Kujo opened her eyes and coldly sized him up. There are some things that I hope we don't encounter. What things? Toru Watanabe asked curiously. Things that make me unhappy. I think it's very difficult. Toru Watanabe told her the truth. Miki Kujo took off her shoes and pressed her foot against Toru Watanabe's face, slightly flattening the flesh on his cheek. Say that again? She said. I've discovered that you really like to step on people. Toru Watanabe's voice was slightly distorted because of the beautiful girl's foot on his face. Now that autumn was approaching winter, her black stockings were replaced with black tights. He could no longer see what Miki Kujo was wearing under her clothes like he did in the summer. Yes, I like to step on people, Miki Kujo said with a proud smile. But I only step on you. Don't think that I'll be happy just because you said that. His acting is too fake. I did it on purpose. Miki Kujo gently moved her foot down and lifted Toru Watanabe's chin. I'm just trying to make you happy. Toru Watanabe took her feet down and helped her tidy up her pleated skirt. Finally, he patted her leg comfortingly. Actually, there was no need to look. When Miki Kujo put on her underwear, he was right beside her. Sometimes he was the one who decided what color and style to wear. When the car arrived at Kamigawa, the 2 got off. Help me carry my bag, Miki Kujo yawned and said. No. Toru Watanabe refused. I want to hold your hand with my other hand. Before Miki Kujo could say anything, he was already holding her delicate hand. Miki Kujo rolled her eyes at him and didn't say anything. She just let him hold her hand. As the two of them walked on campus, the students around them gave them all kinds of looks. Some were envious, some were worshipful, and some were malicious. Although the rumors about Toru Watanabe currying favor with rich girls couldn't be heard in person, they must exist somewhere in the world, and would never disappear. But the current Toru Watanabe was no longer the youth from Iwate Prefecture. He was now able to ignore the opinions of others by learning actively and passively. You're on the path to becoming amazing, and you're not going to turn back. You're really something, Koen Watanabe. He used the method of mental victory to encourage himself every day. People were constantly giving themselves hints, so that they could be more confident in the face of difficulties. During the morning class meeting, Aona Koizumi talked about the winter camping trip. It'll be held on December 2nd, Wednesday, and it'll last for 3 days. There'll be a cross-country race, a picnic, a test of courage, mountaineering, skiing, and finally, a bonfire party. Toru Watanabe once again felt sorry for his friends in China. Thinking about it carefully, China was still catching up. It wasn't time for them to enjoy life yet. In recent generations, it was necessary to sacrifice themselves so that future generations could have a relaxed learning life. Toru Watanabe was also sacrificing himself. He used his whole life to experience a relaxed education, but it was only to sum up the pros and cons. His friends in China started their morning reading at 6 and had several classes at 8. He only had his first class meeting at 8:20. Every time he thought of this fact, his heart was burning with anxiety. He wanted nothing more than to laugh out loud. "Sensei," a girl said. During the bonfire party, the two people who dance at the finale will be connected by fate and will never be separated for the rest of their lives. Is this true? What do you guys think? Aona Koizumi didn't express his thoughts. Instead, he asked everyone with a smile. "It's too unrealistic," Osamu Kanai said loudly. "Koi, you're such a killjoy," a girl complained. "It's true." Keisuke Saito joined the battle. 90% of couples in school will break up. They will never be separated for the rest of their lives, unless they die together that day. Die together? Unbelievable. Boys are so bad. It's precisely because they will break up that they want to be connected by fate and never be separated for the rest of their lives. I really can't stand you girls. Can't you be more realistic? Osamu Kanai's voice alone could suppress everyone. That's right, that's right. Keisuke Saito nodded vigorously. Class monitor, what do you think? The male class monitor adjusted his glasses and said in a dark tone, "I don't dance." Seriously, guys with nerves are the most annoying. What? These guys are so annoying. Kazumi Ikeda stood up and turned around. She pointed her flat stomach at Toru Watanabe in the back seat. "Koen Watanabe, do you think so too?" The legend of the bonfire party is fake? About that, that's right. Koen Watanabe, you speak on behalf of the boys. A girl in the front seat who was famous for being fierce also urged. Watanabe, tell them. Osamu Kanai looked at him with contempt. Let them give up completely and know how boring they are. Keisuke Saito encouraged. Sensei. Toru Watanabe raised his hand. Aona Koizumi, who had been watching the show, smiled and said, As far as I know, for winter camping, every class has to elect a committee member, right? For example, a committee member for the Daredevil Challenge, a committee member for logistics, and so on. What? Watanabe, do you want to be a committee member? No, there's no such thing. I'm just saying that we should hurry up and not waste time on things like the bonfire party. Things like the bonfire party? Kazumi Ikeda repeated in disbelief. Koen Watanabe, do you also think the legend is fake? Toru Watanabe blinked twice. Ha ha ha. Osamu Kanai laughed. Do you understand now? The bonfire party is fake. Koen Watanabe, I'll tell Kujo about this. No wait. I didn't say the legend is fake, right? Aona Koizumi clapped her hands and signaled for everyone to be quiet. Watanabe, Since you want to be a committee member, then I'll leave it to you. Ah, Toru Watanabe stood up. No. Sensei, I'm afraid of ghosts. When I was young, I watched horror movies and had to sleep with my parents for at least 2 days. The way to overcome your fear is to thoroughly understand it. If you're afraid of ghosts, then you'll play the role of a ghost. That way, you'll know that those ghosts are actually fake. Just like in TV dramas or movies about ghosts, the shooting scenes are actually very funny. Sensei, I'm not afraid of ghosts. I just want to be lazy. Let Koiwakai do this. This guy is best at this kind of thing. Aona Koizumi thought for a moment. Koiwakai is very strong. I'm going to let him be a committee member of the bonfire party. Yes, let him chop wood. Carry wood. The girls echoed in unison. That's not right, Sensei. Osamu Kunai shouted. Watanabe is stronger than me. How can that be? Watanabe doesn't have much strength at first glance. Really? He's much stronger than me. The baseball he throws is fast and... Even if you're talking about baseball, I don't understand. Between playing the role of a ghost and chopping wood, scaring people is definitely more interesting than sweating. After school, in the Human Observation Department, Toru Watanabe and the 2 beautiful girls talked about what happened during the morning class meeting. Is that so? The department head Rin Kiyono used a tone that said, both of them are boring, but Toru Watanabe is even more boring. Miss Kujo, who was lying on the sofa, wasn't listening at all. Toru Watanabe changed the topic again. Do you think the legend of the bonfire party is true or false? What's the difference between those who believe in such things and those who do nothing and place their hopes on dreams and possibilities? Rin Kiyono's voice was cold and clear. Beautiful. I really want the girls in the class to hear your answer. Miki, what about you? Childish. I can't agree more. Toru Watanabe applauded. Although he didn't know whether Miki Kujo was saying that the legend of the bonfire party was childish, or that he was childish for talking about such things. But if you don't invite me to dance, I'll roast you on the bonfire. Ha, you actually said that others are childish. This sentence was, of course, said by Kiyono. Don't misunderstand. Miki Kujo sat up and walked over without shoes. The floor was covered with a furry blanket at some point. She supported herself with one hand on the beechwood table and looked down at Rin Kiyono, who was reading a book. Whether or not we can be together forever depends on our ability. I'm dancing with Watanabe just to tell some people to stop having unrealistic fantasies. Kujo-sen, who's always confident, are you afraid? Rin Kiyono's eyes didn't leave the book. He even turned the page. Afraid? Miki Kujo sneered. Kiyono-san, are you really going to seduce someone else's boyfriend? First of all, Watanabe-san and my club activities existed before you two started dating. Secondly, Rin Kiyono closed the book and looked at Miki Kujo, who was looking down at her. Are you really afraid? Have you lost confidence in yourself? Without waiting for Miki Kujo to speak, she glanced at Toru Watanabe. Then, she added as if she just remembered. I almost forgot that Watanabe-san is a pervert who likes legs. I'm indeed a big threat. Oh, is that so? Miki Kujo slowly turned around and looked at Toru Watanabe, who was hiding behind memories of time like water. It was sudden and unfolding like a natural disaster. How should I explain this sentence? Toru Watanabe muttered to himself. The blazing fire is like a steaming cloak that wraps around the sleeping person? Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono also looked over. Toru Watanabe came back to his senses and looked out the window blankly. Is it over? Time passed so quickly today. Is this Einstein's theory of relativity? I have to find some time to study it. No one cared whether he studied theory of relativity or not. Is Euro fetish related to legs? Kiyono-san's legs are prettier, or mine? The two beautiful girls' gazes were extremely oppressive. Toru Watanabe could only give up struggling. I will never like a girl just because her legs are pretty, he said. Miki Kujo's lips curled up and she narrowed her eyes, but not because she was happy. Who couldn't see that Toru Watanabe was evading the question and didn't answer the question? But she would settle this with him when she got back. She looked at Rin Kiyono. It seems that Kiyono-san's only advantage isn't that great after all. Only advantage? Rin Kiyono pretended to be confused and repeated. Kujo-san, can you guarantee that you won't retaliate and let Toru Watanabe-san choose his own partner for the bonfire party? Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes. Rin Kiyono responded with a contemptuous sneer. Do you think I'll fall for that? Miki Kujo suddenly laughed. It doesn't matter if Watanabe likes legs or not. The only legs he can touch are mine. I don't need to prove anything. I can understand your thoughts. Rin Kiyono sighed. If my opponent is as beautiful as me, I'll be worried too. The activity classroom of the Human Observation Department fell into a dead silence, as if it was at the bottom of the sea. Okay. Miki Kujo stood up straight. Let Watanabe choose. You guarantee that you won't retaliate? Rin Kiyono confirmed with a sneer. No problem. Miki Kujo crossed her arms. Her eyes were clearly smiling, but they were full of coldness. Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono greeted him. Did you hear that? At this time, why don't you tell the truth about Miki Kujo's words? Capitalists aren't good people, including beautiful girls. There's no need. Toru Watanabe's face was relaxed. I'll tell you the answer now. I'll definitely invite. Wait a minute. Rin Kiyono interrupted him. The choice you're making now is only based on rational judgment. Only on the day of the bonfire party will the person you really like, who you want to dance with, and who you want to make friends with appear in your mind. Toru Watanabe was speechless. She could even say something like that. It seemed that Aoi Ichiki's love story wasn't useless. It seemed to have grown a lot. Then let's wait for the day of the bonfire party. Miki Kujo walked back to the sofa. I'll make you admit defeat. I'm looking forward to it. Rin Kiyono chuckled. It was common knowledge that women were naturally good at acting. Therefore, Toru Watanabe would never believe anything that Miki Kujo promised today. As for what Rin Kiyono said, only on the day of the bonfire party will the person you really like, who you want to dance with, and who you want to make friends with appear in your mind. That kind of thing was too light. That was reality. What he needed was rational judgment. His answer wouldn't change. Chapter 174. November 17th, Tuesday lunch break. Watanabe, let's go. Got it. Toru Watanabe replied with a sigh. Seeing his reluctance, Osamu Kunai was a little confused and asked him, if you don't want to, why don't you just tell teacher Koizumi directly? There are some things that only I can do. Is being a committee member of the daring competition such an amazing job? Keisuke Saito, the new logistics committee member, said. What do you think? Toru Watanabe was bitter, but couldn't say anything. As they spoke, the three of them walked out of Year 1 Class 4, and walked towards the student union meeting room. In the corridor, there were many people walking in the same direction as them. On the afternoon of the second day after Toru Watanabe became a committee member of the daring competition, the student union gathered all relevant committee members for a meeting. Kanagawa High School's student union meeting room wasn't a simple and crude version of the school desks. It had an oval solid wood table and exquisite chairs. It was more extravagant than the meeting rooms of many companies or law firms. Toru Watanabe and the other two casually found a seat. Before the meeting started, they talked about the free activities of camping, boring topics like fishing or skiing. Koen Watanabe, Toru Watanabe looked towards the source of the voice, but he didn't see anything. I'm over here. The voice came from the other side this time. He turned to look again. It was a lively and cheerful girl with a cute bob and a cute little round face. Her eyes were big and curved into crescents. You are? Toru Watanabe didn't know her. No way. The girl covered her mouth in disbelief. I'm Nai. Toru Watanabe remembered who this person was, but he still said, sorry, I don't know you. May I know who you are? After Senior Masahi's lesson, he decided to treat all girls coldly. This would benefit both parties. The girl clasped her hands behind her skirt and happily clasped them together. It's okay if you don't know me. Just call me Nai. Nice to meet you, Koen Watanabe. Other than Mickey, he didn't even call out Rin Kiyono's name. What was this woman thinking? What can I do for you, President Machi? Toru Watanabe stopped pretending. So you know me? So you were deliberately teasing me just now? Miyashita Momo put her hands behind her back again, tilted her head slightly, and smiled at Toru Watanabe. Koen Watanabe, don't tell me you like me? You don't scare me. I've seen people more narcissistic than you. You're joking again. It's impossible for anyone to be more narcissistic than me. Miyagi waved his hand in disbelief. Do you know Rin Kiyono? That guy's narcissism is incurable, Toru Watanabe said. So this is my image in Watanabe-san's mind. A clear and beautiful voice, accompanied by the sound of cold footsteps, gradually approached. Toru Watanabe didn't look away, but he didn't appear to be flustered. He looked at the student union president and continued. Although narcissistic, Kiyono is indeed a rare beauty. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she's one of a kind. One of a kind? Toru Watanabe's face fell instantly. He was as flustered as he could be. Looking closely, Momo Miyagi was smiling very happily. Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito kept giving him meaningful looks. Their eyes were almost crooked. Toru Watanabe slowly turned around and looked up. He didn't know when, but not only was Rin Kiyono there, but Miss Kujo was also there. He didn't have time to think about why the two of them were there. Mickey, listen to me. So you're the new student union president. Miki Kujo looked at Momo Miyagi, but her hand reached out to Toru Watanabe's ear. I won the election by luck. Momo Miyagi waved her hand modestly. Kujo, please have mercy. We can discuss anything in school. Our family can't compare to the Kujo family. There's nothing to discuss with you. Just stay away from this guy. Miki Kujo said as she glanced at Toru Watanabe, whose ear she was twisting. Nai Miyagi glanced at Toru Watanabe, who had a pained expression, and couldn't help but laugh. Of course, who doesn't know that Koen Watanabe is the Kujo family's future son-in-law? Miki Kujo sneered. Without moving her head, she glanced coldly at Rin Kiyono. Isn't there one here? Ouch, ouch, ouch. Gentler. Toru Watanabe shouted exaggeratedly as he felt the increasing force on his ear. Rin Kiyono flicked her long hair over her shoulder and smiled faintly. The Kujo family and Kiyono family are going to break off their relationship? That's great. Nai Miyagi clapped her hands and said happily. In the future, if the two families want to work together, please consider our Miyagi family. It's none of your business. Stop dreaming, Miyagi-senpai. Kiyono family's business has nothing to do with me. I see. Momo Miyagi was slightly disappointed, but her eyes lit up when she saw Toru Watanabe. Koen Watanabe, I can only rely on you. Please make them fall head over heels in love with each other, and then break off their relationship. Do you think I still have a chance? Currently, I can't even protect myself. Toru Watanabe pointed at the snow-white and delicate hand on his ear. Miki Kujo bent down. Her small and delicate face was pressed against Toru Watanabe's face. Are you planning to do this if you can't protect yourself? Her soft lips poured out hot air onto Toru Watanabe's ear. Kujo-san. Rin Kiyono looked at the two people who were about to stick together. Yesterday you said no revenge. Are you going back on your words today? If I remember correctly, you said no revenge after the event, right? Miki Kujo glanced at her. Rin Kiyono put her hand on her chin and lowered her head in deep thought, as if she was recalling what she said yesterday. After 3 seconds she said, this is also a sign of lack of confidence, right? It has to be recorded in the Human Observation Activity Record. Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes slightly and let go of the hand that was twisting Toru Watanabe's ear. Only then did Toru Watanabe realize that the noisy meeting room was now completely silent. What can I do? Who asked me to like this bad guy so much? Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe gently and adjusted the position of his tie. I feel very uncomfortable when I think about someone trying to snatch you from me. At first, her tone was still gentle, but in the end, there was only a cold murderous intent left. Kujo-san, your discomfort is something for me to be happy about. Rin Kiyono returned the same cold smile. Miki Kujo looked back and forth between the two of them, then suddenly smiled and said, "Kuin Watanabe, as the person involved, aren't you going to say a few words?" This guy, Toru Watanabe, seemed to see a fox's tail peeking out from behind the student union president's skirt. "The lunch break is already over. Let's hurry up and start the meeting," he said. As if she didn't get a satisfactory answer, Miki Kujo puffed up her cheeks in dissatisfaction. However, Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo didn't intend to continue the argument and sat down in their respective seats. There was nothing she could do. Miki Kujo returned to the seat of honor and looked at the number of people. The committee members of each class are all present. Let's start today's meeting. First of all, regarding the specific planning of the winter camping event, each group is to submit it to the student union before this Friday. Next is the budget. If the event plan is approved, the budget. As the higher-ups spoke, the people below continued to make small movements. Toru Watanabe glared at Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito, complaining that the two of them didn't warn him, and kept their eyes locked. Then, ignoring their disregard and excuses, he asked Miki Kujo beside him in a low voice, "Miki, why are you here? If I didn't come, I wouldn't have been able to learn the idiom one of a kind." "I admit I'll be honest. I do think that Kiyono classmate is very beautiful, even comparable to you, Miki. That's why I said, one of a kind just now." Glib tongue. Miki Kujo placed her hand on his thigh. This time, she really pinched it with all her might. Ouch! Toru Watanabe was in so much pain that his upper body leaned forward. Because it was too painful, he couldn't help but reach out and press on Miki Kujo's black pantyhose-covered thigh. Like a child who drank bitter medicine and desperately ate sweets, he greedily kneaded her slender and well-proportioned thigh. Osamu Kanai and Keisuke Saito couldn't see what was going on under the table. They looked at Toru Watanabe, who was in so much pain that he looked like he was about to die, with pity and ridicule. The meeting ended peacefully. This time, Miki Kujo didn't seem to have any intention of presiding over the meeting. Last time, it was because Kujo's mother suddenly wanted to come to the cultural festival that she took the initiative and didn't allow anything to go wrong. Kujo's mother definitely wouldn't participate in activities like winter camping, so it was reasonable that Miki Kujo didn't interfere. In conclusion, Miki Kujo was a committee member purely to keep an eye on her boyfriend. What did I do wrong? Toru Watanabe rubbed his thigh that was definitely red by now and returned to the classroom. After watching Memories of Grey Years for a while, the lunch break was over and the fifth class began. The fifth class was home economics. For today's class, it was tailoring. As usual, there were two classes in class, Class 2 and Class 4. Today's task is to make bags. The elderly home economics teacher's voice was very gentle. Shoulder bags, backpacks, straddle bags, or handbags. You can make any bag you want. After you're done, come find me for a stamp and then you can leave. The students from the two classes went up one by one to choose the materials they liked. The home economics teacher didn't care much. After explaining the topic, she minded her own business and knitted sweaters for winter. According to the girls in the class, the home economics teacher made almost all the clothes herself. The styles were simple and beautiful, so many girls wanted to learn from her. Since the home economics teacher didn't care about anything, Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo hung out together. He chose black fabric for himself and bright red for her. Miki Kujo preferred red, not the kind that emphasized color. It was simple, dignified, and didn't look feminine on boys. That was her favorite. "Do you know how to use a sewing machine?" Toru Watanabe asked her. This was the first time he had a home economics class with Miki Kujo. Class 2 and Class 4 had met before, but Miki Kujo wasn't there. She either didn't come for the whole day, or left at noon for the fourth class in the morning. "I learned a little." Miki Kujo took the fabric and drew lines on it with a pencil. Toru Watanabe sat down next to her. His pants rubbed against his thigh, and the place where he was pinched actually hurt slightly. He looked around the classroom. Everyone was behind the sewing machine, and no one was paying attention to the corner where they were sitting. Toru Watanabe turned his back to everyone and secretly unbuckled his belt. Hearing the sound of the zipper, Miki Kujo looked up. She watched as Toru Watanabe unzipped his underwear and stared at her thigh. You have this kind of fetish? Miki Kujo looked at him and mocked him. What kind of fetish? Look, it's red. Toru Watanabe whispered. Miki Kujo looked at it and reached out her slender right hand. Her index finger gently touched the red area. Does it hurt? Of course, and it hurts a lot. Miki Kujo rubbed it gently and warned him coldly. If you praise Rin Kiyono again, I'll pinch your leg until it's purple. Purple. Are your muscles damaged? If they're damaged, I'll cut off your leg. Don't scare me. Scare you. Miki Kujo glanced at a certain spot. You don't look like you're scared. I'm gifted and can't be controlled at all. Miki Kujo snorted contemptuously and reached out to grab it. Wait, you can't do it there. Toru Watanabe hurriedly pulled her back. For my own good, and for your own good, you can't do it here. Put your pants back on. Who are you trying to show it to? Miki Kujo pinched it and pulled her hand back in annoyance. I'll show it to you when we get back. Who else can I show it to? Toru Watanabe rubbed the red spot again before zipping it up properly. If you dare to show it to others, I'll cut a hole here. She used her small hand to draw a semicircle on Toru Watanabe's abdomen. It was just enough to frame what she was holding. I'm really scared this time. Miki Kujo glanced at him again. Look at your cowardly face. You're useless. Whether I'm scared or not, I'll get scolded. Next time, don't ask me if I'm scared. Just scold me. Are you angry? Miki Kujo glanced at him in amusement. I'll make you a bag. Tell me, what kind of bag do you want? The style isn't important. It must be embroidered with Mickey's love on it. Like this. Gentler. You dare to lie to me? Is this how it should be when you're scared? This is the second time. I recovered faster. It's all Mickey's fault. You're too cute. Flowery words, glib tongue. Miki Kujo operated the sewing machine with unexpected proficiency. The movement of the fabric and the rhythm of the footsteps were pleasing to the ear. I didn't expect you to know this. Toru Watanabe watched from the side. What do you think rich people are? Miki Kujo seemed to speak gently as she operated the sewing machine. I haven't thought about it specifically, but from what I remember, you shouldn't know how to use a sewing machine. Rich people can do a lot of things they like to do. But there are more things that they not only have to do, but they also have to do it better than ordinary people. Miki Kujo stopped the footsteps and changed the direction of the fabric. She continued. I didn't specifically learn how to use a sewing machine. I learned a bit about it in elementary and middle school. Miki Kujo paused and looked at Toru Watanabe. This is the first time I'm sewing for someone. When we go back today, kneel on the bed and thank me. Kneel? How can that express my sincerity? I'll use this bag for the rest of my life. No, kneeling is fine. Miki, you're joking, right? Toru Watanabe said. What do you think? Of course I'm joking. Miki Kujo glanced at him and continued sewing the bag. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.